Hello. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm mainly hoping someone will hop in the chat and help me figure this headset out. It's a new headset. It's one of the Blue Parrot things. And while I drive a truck, so you need something really noise canceling or no one can hear you. And it's wireless, all that stuff. If I can figure out how to get it to work, it worked good one time. And then one time it didn't. So I need to figure out what's wrong with it. And if I can figure that out, I can probably set up two cameras. Like, set up one camera for, say, the counter, like maybe use my phone for that and run my audio through the phone with the headset because my computer's not going to do Bluetooth, at least this one's not. And the other I could have set up over the stove, and then I could go back and forth. And of course, money is limited. We're really just getting back to work, and I'm not even supposed to be working, and I don't have much of a choice in the matter. I need the money. I'm out of everything, and I need to get back ahead of my bills again. I went through everything that I had, so here I am. Then, of course, my boss is like, hey, can you do me a favor? All you have to do is drive. You don't have to touch anything. Okay. Then it's another favor, and basically I'm back at work. So that's what it is. And no one really gives a damn. That's also kind of how it is. No one really cares. And of course, people can't drive worth a damn either. I don't know if anyone can hear the shifting or anything else. I am driving down the road. I've got a headset on. It would be cool to have a better mount where, like, my phone could look down the road when I'm driving. I'm wanting to do that on a motorcycle once I get my motorcycle back and once I'm healed enough that I can ride. I think physically I could do it with my leg, but I still basically got an open wound on my leg, and that's just what it is. And more so my shoulder at the moment that I don't think I need to be on a motorcycle for a little while. It don't have the range of motion that I need. It's better than it was. It's getting better. I need a little bit more range of motion. I mean, I could ride it if I have to, but I don't, and I don't want to wreck the thing again. Because that really sucks. And I'm having a few extra things done to it while it's being repaired. Because I want to be able to put a backpack on it, and a tent, and a fishing pole, and that sort of thing. I think they call it glamping or whatever, moto camping, whatever. I don't know what it is. But it would be pretty cool to just like take a trip out to the national park and cook dinner on a grill or a fire and have a tent and go fishing the next morning or that evening. I've got to get away from everything. It's too many people, too many cars, too many neighbors, too much civilization, when I would prefer to be out in the middle of nowhere. Someplace where you can't really see the lights from a city. They don't obscure the view of the night sky. I've always loved that. Any place where it's, so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face, but it looks like you could grab a handful of stars. I always love that. But hold on. Okay, if you're out there, please leave a comment and let me know how this thing's sounding driving down the road. I got a whole bunch more gear to get. Well, I need a new helmet, that's for sure. And I need to get the helmet set up for Bluetooth for recording. And it's not just that things are expensive, it's that the cost of everything just keeps going up and up and up. And I don't see that changing. Maybe before the next presidential election, they'll get things jacked up so high that they'll give us a little bit of a break. I don't know. They generally do that with fuel prices. They let them raise and raise and raise, and then right before the election, they'll drop them. Because that's not good for whoever's in power. Doesn't matter. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, or whoever's controlling him. I don't think he knows where he's at half the time. That idiot thinks a 9mm is going to blow your lung out, which just means he has no idea what he's talking about. I respect everyone's right to an opinion, but you kind of got to know what you're talking about. It's like some of the people who are anti-gun, what have you, and they have a right to their opinion. But it would help if they could base their opinion in facts and have a little bit of knowledge about the firearms they're talking about. They'll talk about an AR-15, which technically is one of the lowest caliber weapons as far as standard configuration goes. You're shooting 223, 5.56. They'll talk about that like it's high caliber, and it's like one of the lowest calibers you could have. And oh, it's too powerful. You need this deer rifle over here that's way, way more powerful than that AR-15. And they have some illusion that you're going to stop somebody when they're reloading, which takes like a half a second maybe. And maybe they've never seen someone reload. Maybe they think you got to take the magazine out and like reload every bullet and put it back in. I don't know, but they have no clue what they're talking about. Where you would stop someone is if their weapon jammed, and especially if they didn't know what they were doing. So in that case, I guess you would want an actual high-capacity magazine, like those big drums. I don't think I've ever seen someone shoot all the way through one without jamming their rifle, because they're not meant for that. AR platforms, stuff like that, are generally meant for 20, 30, maybe 40 round max. they work pretty good with a 30. Most of the handguns, 15 rounder, 17, 19. You can get some extended magazines, but there's too much, I guess, physics or what have you in there with the spring pressure in the round, the cycling. At a certain point, I think you're kind of losing something in the reliability. But it would help if they knew what the hell they were talking about. And then you could have a conversation with them. If they didn't come out saying stupid stuff, like what's her name? What was it? Sheila Jackson Lee trying to say one of the lightest guns you can buy, an AR-15. Oh, it's so heavy, and the bullets are so huge, and it's got these tiny little bullets in it. It's like drama that doesn't need to be there. So then nobody can have an honest conversation. Then you get the FUDs that if it ain't wood and blued, you're screwed. That, which I do kind of like old rifles. I like Mausers. I like old wooden rifles. An old hot bluing on it. For accuracy, I don't think they can be beat. Just a good old bolt action rifle. My tastes kind of fall into that for the most part. But that doesn't mean you have a right to tell someone else they can't have something. Honestly, I think they're a bigger problem than the anti-gun people, because as long as they have what they have, they're willing to, do away with anything else. They don't care about your rights as long as they got their 30-06 and their 12 gauge. They're a single action Colt. And I have all of those. I have more than that, and they're good, but they just care about their rights and not yours. Get away from bringing hunting up every time the Second Amendment is mentioned. Because that's really not what it's about. BM Foss, hey, what's up? I need someone in the chat to talk to. I posted a link in there. Can you see it? I was kind of rambling on, more or less, myself, but how a lot of people are like, as long as they have what they have, they're good. As long as you don't take their, bolt action rifle and their shotgun, they're willing to give up anybody else's rights as long as you don't mess with theirs. But eventually they're going to come for that too. Well, I would say imagine if one of these sickos used a shotgun and actually knew how to use it. But down in the Houston area, there's been one. Okay, awesome. You'll jump in, cool. Not awesome that there's been one. That one kid, he used a shotgun pretty devastatingly. Luckily, he didn't really know what he was doing, because that would be brutal. And no, you're not going to overtake someone reloading a shotgun, because if they know what they're doing, well, I'm not going to say how to do that just because it's internet. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying. It's just not going to happen. So they'll eventually come for that. And it's not like school shootings and stuff haven't taken place with a bolt action rifle. There was that young girl back in the 70s, what was that, 72, something like that shot up her school with a bolt action rifle. So they'll eventually come for that too. And it's, you know, I don't care about a bump stock personally. I don't need one to bump fire. It's not that hard. But I have no problems with somebody else having one, that being the difference. I don't personally care for it. I think it's a gimmick, it's a toy. It doesn't really do me any good. But I don't think you should be restricted from having it. Corey Long, hello. Let me know how my audio is, please. I got a new Blue Parrot headset. But anyways, that's kind of where I stand on most of the issues, not just guns, where even if it's something that I don't particularly care for, I don't think I have the right to tell someone else that they can't. If that makes any sense. Audio's in really good today. Awesome, awesome. I'm trying to figure the headset out because I would like to be able to film my counter and my stove and use the headset so I can go back and forth between them because it's wireless. And if I can run it through my phone and use my phone for one camera, then use my computer for the other, I can do like a split screen between both of them. And then if I can figure out how to pull up one screen at a time, that would help. But I'm not extremely computer literate. Let me see. Add to stream. Add to stream.
How's it going, Tara?
Oh, it's going okay. I need to turn my volume down.
Yeah, it sounds really good. It sounds like you're kind of close to the mic, but other than that, it sounds really good.
Well, the mic's about a ½ inch from my mouth. It's on a headset.
How's it going, DM5?
Oh, not too bad. Yeah, I think if you could drop it like maybe 10%, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
The microphone?
Yeah.
How about there? Is that better?
It's about the same.
Same. I think I'd have to go into the settings when I can and adjust it from there. But I just went over the bridge in Lake Charles, so I got to get through a construction zone before I can do that.
It's not bad. It's just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I said it was just like a tad loud.
Hold on. Let me check this out. Okay, is that any better?
Not the same.
It's about the same. Okay, I don't think there's going to be much I can do on my end except
I wouldn't worry about it. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. You're good.
Anyways, I was wanting to do a chat, check out the headset, see what I could do with it. I'm bored driving. Kind of woke up a little bit late, so I'm going to be getting home late, and I'm going to be leaving out tomorrow night, and not a whole lot of time to get everything done. That technically I'm supposed to be at home with my leg propped up, but I have bills. I have a boss.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I understand that.
Yeah, they're only going to...
Your leg's doing better, though, because I know you said you were kind of worried about it, the infection moving and possibly losing it, so that's good that you're doing better.
Yeah, I got the infection cleared up, just don't want it recolonized, which...
Oh, hell no.
Is another thing on a truck. I don't know if any of y'all have been on a truck. There's only so much you can do.
Oh, I know.
Truck shop.
I've been there, done that. I used to haul like quicklime and hydrate. My grandpa used to own a trucking business, so I did that for a while.
Yeah, every place is either dusty or muddy or what have you. Chemicals, truck stop showers are not the most hygienic of places.
No,
So,
they're not.
yeah, they don't really clean them, but once a day, the rest of the time, they just walk through with a mop and kind of mop them down. And
Yeah, I don't miss that at all.
yeah, I want a jacuzzi at home. Maybe instead of buying a Harley, I should have bought a jacuzzi. I don't know. I may get one. But
Yeah, that might actually be beneficial because I know you've been dealing with a lot of sciatic nerve pain and everything else, so that the heat alone probably would be beneficial.
yeah, I was going to get a gym membership near my house specifically for the pool because I was doing aqua therapy.
Uh-huh.
And I can do most everything they're wanting me to do by myself. And a jacuzzi on top of that would be awesome. I figured out what the problem was with my back, and that's the L5S1 vertebrae,
Yep.
the degenerative narrowing of the disc. And that's right where all the weight from your upper body is transferred to your hips. And then, of course, arthritis and all that kind of stuff just means I'm getting old. And
Yeah, I have what is it? Disc degeneration in the L4, L5, I think partially in L3. So I feel you on that.
yeah, that kind of reset, my pain levels as far as, the doctors ask you, what's your pain level from 1 to 10? And you kind of had in your mind what a 10 was and what a 5 was. And you're like, oh, this is an 8. It hurts so bad. And, you know, and then hitting a tree on a motorcycle, that was
Wasn't
a
helpful.
new definition of blinding pain that kind of reset them again. And now it's like, what's your pain level? It's a 3.
Yeah.
It's your pain level just sort of gets your tolerance gets jacked up a little bit, especially when you deal with chronic pain, like back pain, what have you, that you can't ever really get away from. You can get it tolerable, but it doesn't go away.
That's very true.
And then when it's bad and you can't even get up out of bed, laying there and you're screaming trying to get up. You're trying to push yourself up, with your upper body, something to grab a hold of, anything, and you just can't do it. It's humiliating,
No, I fully understand that because what was it, about 3 or 4 months ago? All I did was help my dog because she had surgery, had to have a complete knee replacement and all that. But I just picked her up about 4 inches and I threw my back out and I pinched the sciatic nerve. And oh my God, that was horrible.
Yeah,
So
I know when mine's going to do it too, and it doesn't start hurting in my back, which is what's weird. It'll start hurting in the back of my leg, and it'll feel like
Yep.
somebody bit a chunk out of the back of my leg. And then it'll start kind of radiating down, and a couple days later, the back starts doing the whole snap, crackle, pop thing, and that's about the point where you can't get out of bed.
Yeah, I'll get that. Usually on the right side, it'll go across the hip and then down my leg.
yeah, that's the best way I can describe it too. And it's weird because with me, it skipped like the back of my knee and it went to my calf.
Yeah, it's like right below the calf, that space right down there, and like not the calf itself, it's like something behind and underneath, and it goes down to your heel, and that's just insane. I ended up training my dog, got to where I just leave his harness on him, and He's a Mastiff. He's a Great Dane and Boxer mix. He's been on my videos.
Oh, he's
And
a big dog.
yeah, he's a big guy. And I'd hold on to his harness and I'm like, pull. And he would pull me up. It didn't hurt any less. It was just quicker because one way or another, it doesn't matter how much it hurts. You scream, you fight through it, and you still have to get up. If nothing else, just to go from the bed to the restroom or whatever, you've still got to get up. And I guess it's the same with the leg and everything too. I can't lay in bed for 2 months. I think that would do more damage to me than what I'm doing now in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you got to
Just
keep
the loss
moving
of muscle.
Exactly. You got to keep moving and keep up your strength and just try to work it out. I did a lot of stretching, gabapentin. That shit helped pretty good.
That doesn't help me very much unless I add vodka.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't feel it.
They mixed it with some kind of strong anti-inflammatory. I forget the name of it, but I was taking both of them at once.
Meloxicam?
No, it's called what is it? A Totalac. I believe that's what it, I believe
They were
it's a
trying
Totalac.
to. Okay. They were trying to explain to me that whole that chart with the pain levels where they add this medication and they add that medication and it raises up the, you know, that little graph on the medication until it reaches the level of pain you're at. And I'm like, nothing you're giving me is getting even close, so I just stopped taking any of it. You know, it's the only way I could get any of it to work was literally adding vodka. And that's not good.
No, not really.
Am I frozen? Yeah, you don't need to be adding vodka with, well, it's not really a muscle relaxer. That's one of them things, a neuro thing where it's supposed to block the pain signals in the nerves.
Yeah.
And it just does nothing for me.
Yeah,
So,
I take tizanidine, which is kind of like Flexeril, but it's a little stronger. So that's what I took all that at once, and it helps some, but like you said, there's just not really much of anything that'll touch that type of pain. Even pain medication doesn't really help that.
no. And hello, Ghost Shadow and Paul Senior. I'm not watching the chat as closely. I apologize. But I am driving a truck down the road, so I need to be looking in front of me. And yeah, it's.
Yeah, Paul said he has a slipped disc and it's not good. So, yeah, I've got a bulge disc. I've got the disc degeneration. I also have scoliosis. That's what really fucked up my back is how bad my scoliosis is.
Yeah,
So,
they were trying to say something about that with me and checking that out, and nothing ever really came of it. I think one doctor said, you know, I had some kind of scoliosis, and the other doctor said, oh, you're fine. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I don't care. You know, just, I need to get through this, you know?
Ghost Shadow said Feldine, I've never heard of that. Flexeril, Demerol, and morphine will allow you to run with injuries. Yeah, morphine, that's some good shit, but doctors these days they're so hesitant on giving you really anything that will actually help because of all the restrictions, the ATF, how they're screwing with all the medication, and doctors are just scared to give out any kind of hard medication, basically, like pain medicine.
Well, between the pharmaceutical companies that didn't care, and I remember when people thought OxyContin was non-addictive because it was marketed that way.
I remember that too.
And then doctors prescribing things when you don't actually need it. I guess people have too low a pain tolerance or something. And, they're wanting the best pain medication they can get when it's something they don't really need pain medication for. So everything gets overprescribed. And,
Yep.
giving you something that, you know, I've known people, they've lost limbs and what have you, and they put them on pain medication, and the doctors tell them, you're going to have to go to rehab to get off of this. You need it right now. You have to have it. But when we take you off, you're going to have to go to rehab. So that's like planned in their treatment because they know they're going to get addicted to it and they're not going to be able to just quit. And then some things you try to just quit and it'll kill you. So there's things you have to be weaned off of.
Yeah.
But it all, the over prescribing of it, leads to a situation where now if you actually need it, you can't get it. And I couldn't take a lot of that stuff anyways because I drive a truck for a living. And
Yeah.
they're not going to let me drive a truck on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to driving the truck. Ghost Shadow said that in the Marine Corps, he fired an M2 and an AT4 while on all those pain medications. Or all that medicine. So
I don't think they give a damn. There's
No,
a certain point I really don't think they care.
No, they just want the fucking soldiers able and willing to go fight.
If you need to stay awake, they'll give you something for that. If you need something to get over the pain so you can move, they'll give you something for that as long as you can do what they ask you to do. Probably to the point to where you start breaking down and they don't consider you as valuable, and that's probably about the time you'll end up retiring. So I don't think they're interested in your long-term health.
No,
I've
they're
got
not.
too many friends dealing with too many issues from the military.
Yeah, to them,
And not just
it's like
mental.
your property.
Yeah. Oh, they make sure you understand that in triplicate.
Yeah, Ghost Shadow, that's just, he said doctors/hospitals were sued for not prescribing pain meds, and now they're getting sued because they did prescribe pain meds. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, and then you'll have the person that goes in there who's an addict and it's like, hey, this hurts, and they know everything to say and do. Then you've got the pill mills that, you go in and say your toe hurts and they would prescribe you something. The doctor that my great aunt used and my grandfather ended up going to jail because of overprescribing the medication, getting people hooked on all these narcotics. And I believe she said that there's nothing wrong with a man that can make her feel that good for that long. I mean, he had her hopped up on some pills. She was on cloud 9, but she felt good. My grandfather was another story. Like a lot of, this road's rough. I'm on I-10, Louisiana-Texas border, so I don't know what that's going to do with my signal. But anyways, like a lot of Korean war vets, which both of my grandfathers are.
Yeah, my grandfather was too.
Yeah, they were both alcoholics. One drank himself to death, and the other probably would have. But he ended up trading the alcohol for the pills. And of course, the pills are acceptable. The doctor's prescribing them. But it's the same thing. It's still a drug. Just because, legal drugs, pharmaceuticals kill more people every year than all illegal drugs combined.
Yeah.
Whether it's medical malpractice, accidental overdose, what have you. And we just take these things like, okay, the doctor knows what he's talking about, so I'll take this and I'll feel better. and the doctor's just a person. They're running a business. They've got pharmaceutical companies coming through there marketing their products. It's no different than Olight on a gun channel saying, promote our product, except it's some kind of opiate or what have you. And it's a business at the end of the day. They don't want to spend more than 15 minutes with you and move on to the next customer because they're basing their time, time is money, X amount of time, and you're trying to remember everything to tell them. And when they leave, you'll remember what you came there for. But it's
like a cattle. They treat you like cattle, in and out, in and out, in and out. But I remember back in 2008, I had my gallbladder removed, and I went to the ER 3 nights in a row. The first night I went in, I was in so much pain. They gave me a shot of morphine. They did a couple of tests and said, "Oh, you're just a drug seeker. Go home." Came back the next night, same thing. It was getting worse. So they ended up doing a ultrasound on my gallbladder, and they're like, "Oh, we don't see stones. Here's a shot of morphine. You're just a drug seeker." So by the third night, I was in the fetal position, and my doctor actually called the ER doctor and cussed him out and told him that they needed to run what's called a HIDA scan. It's a specific test for the gallbladder. And when they did the scan, and by the time I got into the OR, my gallbladder was only working at 9%. So I had to go into emergency surgery for it. And I was in the hospital for a week.
Damn.
So back then, they would just give you medicine, pain medicine, like you were saying, for just really anything. And now if you go to the ER, they're just hesitant to give you even a fucking pain pill, much less a shot or anything. So it's just like when people actually need it, they won't give it to you, but all these fucking addicts can get it like it's going out of style.
They learn how to work the system, like welfare, like anything else. And I freak them out because, I tell them I don't want that stuff. And they start trying to go on their speech about, drug addiction, all that. I'm like, look, I don't want it. And I guess they hear so many people telling them that's what they want that it doesn't register in their brain when somebody says, no, I don't want it. I have a family history. I have a personal history. My father was an alcoholic and a heroin addict. Both my grandfathers were alcoholics. I think I have one aunt that's not an alcoholic. The rest of them are. And then there's the deal with the pills and everything else. And I've been down that road. I don't want to go back. And
that's very understandable.
The two times it was prescribed Oxycontin, I refused it. I told him I don't want it.
I mean, there was a point in my life that I didn't care. That's a long time ago. And in many ways, my wife kind of saved me a long time ago. I would not be here. It's not that you're suicidal, it's just that you don't care if you wake up again, And I was kind of at that point. And she's the kind of person that is the best kind of person for me to be with. I do have an addictive nature, I know that. And she won't tolerate it. If I let, the alcohol get, to an extreme or anything like that, she would not tolerate it. If I did anything else, she wouldn't. The work that I do, they drug test and everything, so that kind of helps out on that end too. And if it wasn't for her, I probably would not be here. I know me. I know me back then, and she deserves a lot of credit for that. But back on the doctor prescribed medication and everything, it sucks that so many people have abused it on both ends of it, from the druggies to the doctors also abusing, writing out prescriptions, that we're at this point that if you really need it, now it's like you can't get it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and if I need it, you know, I want to go as long as I can without having it. But if I'm in a situation where I absolutely need it, I would like it to be there for a very short period of time. Just, okay, I need it for this amount of time. Okay, cool. And that's it. Just, I mean, I know I live in the swamp in Southeast Texas, but I don't need to fulfill all those stereotypes. So, yeah, we had, actually, we still do. We end up with meth camps out in the woods, and it's
Yeah.
impossible to get them run off until things get violent. And then the cops are interested. They don't care about the theft. They don't care about anything else. They don't care that somebody's living out there in the woods outside your subdivision. And it's impossible. It's like they're squatting. I mean, that's not public land where they're at, but you can't get anything done about it.
I had a neighbor that was a sergeant in the Army, and he told me that he was stationed at Fort Lewis, which is just north of me. He told me that when they would find meth labs, they would use them as live fire exercises for his unit.
I guess that's one way to deal with it, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess if they were the actual meth labs, they would be more interested. But these are just a bunch of meth heads, for the most part, living out, camping, homeless, in the woods. And I don't so much have a problem with, homeless people camping out in the woods. I've been homeless. I've been homeless as a child and as an adult. And, I've been there. I've slept in a culvert on, a plank of wood. I've slept underneath overpasses, once again on a plank of wood, because you don't want to sleep on the concrete. You want to kind of get away from everything. So you're kind of up over the top of the cars. And it's like, well, if I roll off the board, it would solve a lot of problems, but you want to stay away from the other people. And so I've been there. I'm not cold-hearted, but when you have a bunch of drug addicts and they're that close to your house and things are, that close to your house and things are getting broken into, and who's stealing the copper wire, who's breaking into the car. Right. It's that part of it. If that wasn't going on, hell, I'd bake food and bring it to you,
Yeah.
What have
Shadow
you.
said that had VA give me 3 injections of morphine to slow my heart because admin would not authorize the drug specifically for that issue. Side effect of morphine is it slows heart and lungs. Damn.
Oh yeah. It eventually.
What happened that you had your heart rate so high, Ghost Shadow? And then CNT Designs and Arms joined the chat. He said, "What's up?"
What's up, CNT Designs? My apologies if I'm not really watching the chat very closely. I'm driving down the road.
Oh, you're good. I'm trying to help you out. Paul Senior said I tried morphine and it did nothing. Yeah, pain medicine like that, it hits people differently. Some people, pain medication absolutely does nothing for them. Some get them high as a kite. It may help a little bit with the pain. It just varies person to person. I know personally, when I've had morphine in the past, it's weird because it'll start at my head and I can feel it start working down slowly. And then it'll eventually go all the way down to my feet. And I just feel like I'm floating on a cloud.
Yeah, morphine will make me puke the next day. You know,
I've
like go
heard
into
people,
surgery, you come out, and it'll make you puke. But I'm not allergic to it. I think it's kind of a common thing.
mm-hmm.
There
Go
are people
Shadow
who are
said,
allergic.
yeah, my mom was that type before she passed away. She was allergic to several different several different pain medications. Damn, if I could talk.
Yeah,
Ghost Shadow said MRI and injections for the MRI had a reaction. Oh shit, dude.
oh my God.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah, and then they ask you, do you have any metal in your body? And you're trying to think, I think they got all of it out. And they have to x-ray
Yeah.
before you go in. You know, it's like, yeah, I think all of it's out, but I don't know.
We're
Uh,
about to find out.
oh, you will know. That's weird. Those machines, they put you through. They got the donut thing that actually like better, except the fluid they put in you makes you feel like you're gonna pee because you get that warm through your legs.
Yeah,
And
I had to have a CT scan a couple weeks ago to look at my lower abdomen and lower pelvis because I was peeing blood and they didn't know why. And when they injected me with that contrast, it was weird. It was like my ears got really warm and my nether regions got really warm.
oh yeah, it make really warm and it can make you nauseous. And I've had to do it this year and last year. And then they have the big machine that they stick you inside of that it's like I take up the whole machine and it's like you can feel it slicing your head,
Yeah.
you know, as it goes through, which I think is what Ghost Shadow was talking about. It's almost, best way I can describe it is like when you hold your finger in front of your nose, like right there in the middle, in between your eyes, and you can feel it, but you're not touching.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of feeling, but it's slicing through your body. And I think that's what they're doing is they're taking images like that with the machine. So that makes sense. That's the one that you can't have any.
Yeah, the worst one that I've
actually
ever
have
had
been shot a
done.
couple times.
The worst MRI, it wasn't actually an MRI, it was a head CT. And they had to put your head in that cage and you can't move. And I'm claustrophobic, so that really fucked with me bad. And I've had a couple of those and they're very intense and they're loud as fuck too. But Ghost Shadow said the first time he got morphine, he did the Exorcist projectile vomiting. Damn. I've actually witnessed that firsthand. I used to be an EMT, and we brought this patient that was having a bad GI bleed, and we got him out of the rig and got him into the ER. And as soon as we closed the double doors to the room, this man projectile vomited, like Ghost Shadow said, Exorcist. It was nothing but blood, just puking blood. Spewing it everywhere. It looked like a fucking murder scene in there.
Wow.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep fading out a little bit. It's probably just because of the area you're in.
All right, everything's kind of roboting.
Yeah, I think you're just in a bad area, Tara.
Yeah, now I can hear you. I crossed into Texas. I'm in Orange now. So it kicked me out and I had to log back in or what have you. So can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Maybe not.
I don't know. Am I roboting?
A little bit, yeah. You keep fading in and out. What's going on,
Okay,
Mike
that
White?
might be the signal.
Mike White joined the chat. Go Shadow says it was grape jello and juice for me. Yeah.
Uh, oh. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What's the last thing y'all heard me say?
You crossed over the Texas line.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we were talking about those machines and everything. It's like, do you have any metal in your body? It's like, well, I've had metal in my body. I think it's all out. So, but you find out, and if it's in there, it'll move. That's the reason they ask, because it's magnetic imaging and it will pull it.
Yeah, it'll
And
rip it out if it's close enough to the skin. or the
Yeah, I've
surface.
seen videos where it'll suck like a chair
Yep.
and when they turn it on, if you get too close.
yeah, and it's like, they're scanning my head. And it's like, well, my cousin shot me in the head when I was 12. But
Shit.
yeah, all the fragments are gone. A few years later, though, I would get what would be like kind of like a pimple, and then you'd pop it, and there'd be like a little piece of metal in it that's like worked out of the skin. So yeah, my family's great. Alcohol, live ammunition, four-wheelers, motorcycles, three-wheelers. Somebody, when we get together, somebody leaves in an ambulance. So, and it's usually something like, Mako dirt bike, hit a tree, that sort of stuff. Somebody breaks their back.
I'm gonna jump out. I got off work at 6 this morning. I'm starting to fade.
Oh, you're good, brother.
Okay.
You go get some rest, DM.
So drive safe. Good talking with you, Corey.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you for joining the chat, Faust.
Oh, no problem.
I appreciate it. It goes much better when you have somebody to talk to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mike White is just saying hey to everybody, and Paul Senior said I get strap metal, and now I have a cloprestanol bag. I don't know if he means colostomy bag. I'm not sure, unless that's something different.
I don't know. I can't read it at the moment.
And Mike White said, "Damn, one hell of a family."
Basically, a bunch of rednecks.
Yeah, same with my family. What you were saying about the metal, it looks like a pimple. I've had that with glass in my knee, because when I was in third grade, I was playing on the playground and slipped in the mud and fell on the top of a broken beer bottle. And it went in my knee, chipped the bone, and shattered in thousands of pieces. And I had to go into surgery, almost lost my leg. And they tried to get all the glass out, but unfortunately they couldn't. And then for a while after that, random pimples would just pop up around the scar, and it'd be just glass coming out.
Yeah, I had that for a little while. Apparently, everything that was left worked its way out, and it's a weird thing. Me and my cousins were sneaking back in the house, and we didn't have a home, so I was staying at my cousin's house. We're kids. We're running out through the woods at night and having fun and building bonfires and all that sort of thing. We're trying to sneak back in the house, and my cousins get into an argument, and I'm between them on the ladder. So that's how I got shot. So,
What'd you get shot with?
one of those high-powered pellet pistols, the CO2-powered things.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then when it hits, it goes, little pieces and shit
Yep.
from not far away. That's one thing. I got shot with that. I got shot with a 22 in the leg, and I got shot in the ass with a shotgun from
Ooh.
a distance. That also involved those cousins, but that's a whole different story.
I can honestly
That
say
it,
I've never been shot, but I've been shot at many times in my life.
uh, yeah, well, I was shot at too, but they hit. You know, just a bunch of crazy rednecks. I mean, we would do things like we would try to steer Russell off the side of a pickup. You know, so you got your friend driving the pickup, you're holding onto the headache rack, you got your feet on the fenders, and you're driving up alongside it, and somebody jumps off, and it wasn't much to do. I think the average age of pregnancy in that town was about 14. There was literally nothing to do.
Yeah, and I'm from
And
a small town like that too, where pretty much your choices, if you were one of the lucky ones that did manage to get out, you were either going to be an alcoholic, a drug addict, or dead or in prison. I grew up, I mean, it was a pretty bad town. It got worse. That's why we left. But there was one time I was on my way home from school, and I had to get home because I had to go to the bathroom. So I cut down First Street, which First Street is like crack and drug dealer alley.
uh-huh.
And I just drove by at the wrong time, and someone shot my truck twice. Luckily, it didn't hit me; it just hit the truck. And then I had a neighbor growing up that hated us for some reason. He was, I think he was on the spectrum as far as special needs. And
Uh-huh.
every time we would step outside, he would just shoot at us with the 22. Finally, the cops caught him doing it and took him to jail, and we never saw him again.
Yeah, it's pasture parties, unless you wanted to drive over an hour away to some little theater to go see a movie. It's a lot of times, people would think you moved over summer because no one saw you. You're stuck out in the middle of nowhere. My graduating class had 28 people in it. That's the
Yeah.
whole grade. And
You're from Texas, right?
I was actually born in Houston, but I have family in both Oklahoma and Texas, and kind of grew up going back and forth between the two. Basically, my mom and my stepfather would lose everything and we'd be homeless and have to move, and family in one state would help us out, and then we'd lose everything again, and some other family member would help us out, what have you. And um, sitting in my trailer with no AC in a hayfield in Oklahoma, you found something to do outside because it was way too hot in the summertime. And you got two pair of pants, two shirts. If you got socks for your birthday, Christmas was underwear. You washed clothes in the bathtub, hung them up near the stove, hope they dried by the morning because you only had two pair. And push home some piece of junk that you had to get running for a car. Parents could never buy me anything. They never had any money or anything like that.
Yeah.
So one farmer let me push home was a 52 Harley, and me and a couple friends got that thing running. And my mom thought I was going to kill myself. So then my mom gets rid of it, and I'm like, how much money that would be worth now?
Right.
And yeah, she doesn't like me on motorcycles. Then I
After
had,
your accident, I can see why.
yeah, then I pushed home a Suzuki That was one of the, I think that one was 3 cylinders. I'm not sure. That one was like a 74, I want to say. It was all gummed up and everything and got it running. She got rid of that one. And then I pushed home 2 Kawasaki's. I think one was a 74, one's a 76. And it was back when they were doing that oil mixture thing where they had the jets that would inject the oil into the cylinder so you didn't have to mix it.
Yeah.
But that never worked. So you just mix your oil. And they were like a his and hers kind of thing. And the guy never rode anymore. I did work for him because that's how I bought food. That's how I bought any clothes, anything that I had. Honestly, really, after, say, the age of 12, my parents didn't even buy me any clothes. And
I always had to hand me down.
right. But I didn't even get that. My sisters got a lot of things because they were a lot younger, and people were always give away, clothes for little children and stuff. But, once you get so old, that doesn't happen. And, well, I pushed them home, and I used the 2 bikes. They were close enough that I could make 1 bike out of them. And I rode that bike around for a while. And I watched that one go through a barbed wire fence on a dirt road. Double S curve. I was having fun sliding it around as a kid. And that was the last bike that I had for a while. Shit. Oh, yeah. It's always somebody else. It's not you, Yeah. And I had a pickup for a while that my dad ended up selling that I had built up, and he needed money, so he sold my pickup. And you're not 18, so there's not anything you can do about it. That's my stepfather.
Yeah, my mom did that to me. She bought her and my dad bought me a truck when I was 16. It was just an old beater. It was an 85 Ford step side, and it needed work done to it because it was sitting on the bank of the Brazos River outside Bryan College Station. And the Brazos was flooded, so the truck ended up being underwater for a while. So we got it for little or nothing. But I love that truck. I got it running like a top. And then we moved up here to Cleburne, and it sat for a while, and then my mom sold it. And like you said, I was under 18, so there wasn't a fucking thing I could do. I was so pissed just because we needed the money. Yeah. And on one hand, I kind of understood, but on the other hand, I was like, that's my fucking truck.
Well, I bought it. I fixed it. I built it up. And he sold it. Yeah. So then I pushed home pushed and drug home a 79 Pinto ass looking Mustang. The whole front clip of it is a Pinto. And it had that, 2.3 liter 4-cylinder with a cast iron block. And it had a rod thrown in the side. So $200. And at that time, I had kind of my own hay crew where I'd cut, rake, and bale all day, and me and my friends would haul all the hay all night when it cooled off. And that's how I was getting a lot of my money. And when we weren't hauling hay, we were cutting firewood and storing it up. In the wintertime, I'd sell firewood.
Yeah.
But
get your hustle on.
Right. And yeah, I've always had to work. No options.
I've been working since I was 13 years old.
Yeah. 11, 12 years old, I was breaking into vending machines to get the quarters and stuff out of them so I could go to McDonald's and get me and my sister some food. Because we were homeless.
I used to go to the laundromat and look under the machines or beside the machines. You'd be amazed at how much fucking quarters you could find that way. People drop it. Fuck it. I don't want it.
Yeah, or, you'd figure out how to get all the quarters out of it. They get jammed up. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're getting all of them out. And, you got some food. And, it sounds bad now, but at the time we wanted to eat. And There wasn't as many services available. But
You got a couple comments coming in. Do you want me to read them for you?
yeah,
Paul Sr. said he got shot with a 410 and it hurt. I can imagine. Mike White said, I had one of those Crossman 22 caliber CO2 pellet pistols that I would use to hunt birds with to feed my my snakes. That's cool. Don't get shot with one, apparently. Mike White says, surprising anyone lived to adulthood. Yeah, I've always said that if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have took better care of myself. And then Ghost Shadow said, my dad had a Harley Hummer, a 2-stroke.
awesome, awesome. Yeah. Oh, anyways, the rod on that motor was thrown down by the oil pan right there at the lip where it knocked out a chunk of cast iron. So what I did was I took a piece of cast iron angle iron
Uh-huh.
and I brazed it in place, cut it to fit the hole, brazed it in place, ground it down, used a whole hell of a lot of sealant, rebuilt the motor, and then I had a car. And that's the car that I had when I moved from Northeast Oklahoma, because I got a bunch of relatives that don't look like me, and a great grandmother on the Dawes roll final count, and she married a white guy, one of the hell off the reservation. So, and they moved down this direction. I don't blame her. Yeah, I look more like my European ancestors. My baby picture looks weird. I had like black hair and my eyes were so dark gray they looked black. And then like a year later, I had crayon blonde hair and blue eyes. But
Damn.
I went from driving in a rural area, a traffic jam with a combine, or somebody was moving cattle from one pasture to the other, to I-45 Houston, construction between the Jersey barriers, 2 lanes. Speed limit was 55, I think, back then, but everyone was driving 70. And I'm in this little car, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It was complete culture shock. So, I mean, back then, if you would have went from like Houston to Northeast Oklahoma, it was like taking a step 20 years in the past. And now it's more mixed, it's more modern. I think the internet helped with that. A lot of your more rural areas, they have internet access, so they're exposed to more of the world. People are losing their accents. Mine used to be really, really bad. I probably still have one, but
I got a good old country twang, as everyone tells me. I'm so used to it and hear it all the time. I don't hear it. I'm actually
I've
from
traveled
around Houston. Do you know where Tomball is?
Yeah.
I was born in Tomball and raised in Hempstead until I was 17 and then moved up here.
What is your last name? Oh, Long, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Make sure we're not related. I have a whole lot of family out around Hempstead and Waller.
Really?
And all that. Oh, hell yeah.
What are the last names?
Maybe in another chat.
Okay, yeah. We could do it in a private chat or something. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But I might know because I knew a hell of a lot of people down there, and I still do because I go down there often.
My great uncle had a machine shop in Waller, Texas, and on the side of the building, engraved in the concrete, still has that part of the family's name engraved in it. So I stay away from there.
I probably know them or know of them at least.
Oh, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about if I told you the last name. So, yeah, they are crazy. My grandfather was known for leaning out of a cop car while handcuffed and biting a guy's ear off long before Tyson ever did anything like that. It was the only way he could get to him. He'd get drunk and he'd go fighting, and he was crazy. So
Paul,
I love him to death. I still do. Huh?
I don't mean to interrupt, but Paul Sr. said he's got to take off. He's got to go eat. He says, goodbye from the UK. Mike White said, these young, and I totally 100% agree with you, Mike. He says these youngsters today don't know what it is to have a hard life. The government hands out everything to them as they demand it for free. That's no fucking lie. These kids these
Oh,
days don't know what hard work is. They have hardly any work ethic. They whine and bitch about everything.
Paul Senior might be able to pick up on this. That side of the family, the English side, going through my grandfather, because my grandmother on that side was Scotch Irish. They came over here in 1600 from Frome, Somerset, England. They
Mhm.
built the longest, straightest road in England. There's a big quarry that's named after them, and I think their castle was Castle Bromshire.
Oh wow.
And they also had wheat fields and stuff like that. He got a land grant from the King of England in Virginia, which I think was quite a lot of Virginia at the time, and spread out from there. But yeah, that side, I'm a mutt, like most Americans. We're so mixed up at this point.
Yeah,
It's not like
I'm
somebody
a Heinz
from Europe.
57.
Yeah,
I'm German. I'm Irish. I have some Indian in me. The Indian is Seminole. Like I don't even know what else I have. I'm Heinz 57.
yeah. It's like I can trace my family as far as here in the Americas back through every wave of immigration coming from Europe. You know, when these members entered the family, when these members entered it, and I've got Irish, I've got Scotch Irish, I've got English, I've got French, got Norwegian, I've got Czech, um, Ukrainian. There's some family members. I don't think they're actually from Belarus that are in Belarus on the other side of the family. And yeah, there's Eastern Europe. And then with my last name, you know, it's either, people are like, are you German? I'm like, no, my step family's pretty German. That's like the one part that I don't have in my bloodline is the German part. You know, my sisters do though.
Yeah.
And what's the other? I'll get German and Irish a lot. And for some reason, it's when I'm out in the sun a lot, and like my hair, I get red highlights, and it looks more red when I'm out in the sun, and then it looks more light brown when I'm not,
Yeah, that's
depending on
what
what
I
I
am.
wear
I'm a
too.
ginger.
Yeah,
As Yankee says, I'm a soul sucking ginger.
I'm not quite a ginger. I don't sunburn. I have to be in the water to sunburn. The only times I've ever been sunburned is like in the ocean, in the water, that kind of thing. I look beet red the next day, and then I'm a shade darker. I do have freckles. Not pale. Like my wife, she is extremely pale, and if I stand away from her, I'm like, okay, I'm a pretty pale white person. And then I stand next to her, and I almost look like I'm a different race. It's like, okay, I'm not that pale.
Yeah. It's
But
weird with me because I do sunburn easily, but I've been in the sun so much that I do end up tanning and I get darker, but it's only my arms, my face, neck, and chest. But my legs, from waist down, I look like an albino with freckles.
yeah, and then my hair is like, it's blonde, it's light brown, and it's red, and it's all mixed in.
I
So
know you
it's
said,
kind of,
well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Because Paul commented on your comment talking about England. He said he's from the northeast of England, Newcastle. If
oh,
that's
cool.
anywhere where you were talking about.
Actually, he knows where Frome is. I will guarantee you that.
Probably.
I think Frome is on the Frome, Somerset, where Shakespeare was from, about the same time. I think that's on the northwest side, and he's on the northeast. But England is not that huge. He could correct me because I don't live there. You know.
Yeah. You got some more comments coming in. What's up? Dustin Cornelison joining, says, hey y'all, can't stay, just wanted to say hey and show my support. Ghost Shadow said, my dad was making under 1,000 per year in Air Force when we went to Germany in '69. And then Dustin says, dang, right, they don't, most anyway. Heck, I started working at like 6 on our farm, hauling hay and random stuff on our cattle and hay farm, then other stuff when got older. Yeah, I worked on many farms, and so I understand that. Ghost Shadow said the only time he got sunburned was in Alaska, out on the, I'm probably going to butcher this, Matsu Glacier. And Dustin said, my first cousin-in-law received his long wings yesterday from Air Force from here in North Alabama, but lives in San Antonio. That's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
The reflection of the light off of the glacier, probably. My son got sunburnt a couple of weeks ago, and he's 19 years old, going on 20. He's just getting at that point where, how should I put this nicely? He's maturing, you know, and starting to turn into a furry little ape. And, well, he's not little. He's not short. He's not quite my height, though, for some reason. And I think he's like 5'10" and a half, 5'11". He's just like a couple inches shorter than me. And
he can still grow because men typically still grow and everything up until about 25.
yeah, so he might hit 6 foot. I don't know. He definitely looks like my son, though. And yeah, there's no denying him. And
that's the same way with my son. When God made me,
right.
He kept the mold and made my son, because my son is like my twin, literally.
Yeah.
He's a little ginger.
He's like my male twin. But
Yeah.
He's riding his motorcycle, and he's got his shirt unbuttoned, you know?
Yeah.
And he got his chest sunburned. And he got it sunburned bad. And
Look
it's
like
like,
a lobster.
yeah. He sunburned it pretty bad.
Eesh.
And I'm making fun of him, you know, trying to look like, you know, some cheesy Italian or something with their chest hair sticking through or what have you. It's like, you got the motorcycle jacket, you got the shirt underneath, you got that one unzipped, you got it unbuttoned. And yeah, he has a Harley too. So he's got a Sportster S.
My aunt, I think she has a little more German. I'm not sure. I know she has more Indian in her too. But here in Texas, she could never sunburn growing up. Even as a young adult to about 30s or so, she always had trouble trying to tan. She works in the medical field, and she went to Saudi Arabia. I don't like Doctors Without Borders or something. I don't remember, but she went to Saudi Arabia for a while, and they would go on the roof of the hospital and tan. And when she came back, she actually looked like a different race. She got dark.
Oh my God.
The only place she could ever tan was in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm not pale, but I don't have the nice tan complexion like my mom. My mom was always like that nice olive complexion kind of look to her. And My grandmother on the other side looked Eastern European. She just looked like it. But my grandfather, like my mother's father, he did not look white. Neither did his father. His father looked like Quanah Parker with a haircut.
Have you ever done
And
anything like the ancestry test or like 23andMe to find out what all you have in you and what percentage? Or has anyone
no,
in
I
the chat
haven't.
done that?
No, I haven't. I thought of doing it just because I have a sister that I would like to find.
Yeah,
That
same here.
was, yeah, she was lost to foster care.
Ooh,
She's a little bit younger than I am. And so I think she would probably be like around 42, maybe 43. I don't know. But I wish I knew her birth date. But I do know her name was Jolene
mm-hmm.
Smith. So, yeah, if anybody listening to this is in the foster care system, their name's Jolene Smith, about the same age, yeah, contact me. But
Yeah, it's
I've
like
thought
with
about
me.
it for those purposes.
My biological father left my mom when I was 3 months old because he cheated on her with another woman. And that woman he ended up marrying. And I know for sure he had a couple of kids. And I tried like hell to find him. I think I found him, but I'm not sure because he's lived in Waller most of my life, which, Waller and Hempstead are literally side by side.
Yeah,
And
Fieldstore Road, everybody goes there.
Exactly. I'd never seen him, never met him. The only thing I know is his name, and it's a German name. Brian Munger is his name. And so I've considered doing the 23andMe and stuff just to see if I can find relatives that I know I have, just never met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my family's a little weird because it's like 3 families put together.
Yeah.
And my biological father was married to my mom. And I have a sister the same age as me in Pennsylvania from someone else, kind of similar situation. He got around. And I have a sister by him that's a few years younger than me. And traffic is coming to a stop. But then my mom only had me with him. My stepfather is where I get my older brother and older sister from. Their stepbrother and sister. One of them is 55, and I think the other is 54. And then there's my 2 younger sisters, one of which is 28. That's the youngest. And the next oldest under there is 33.
Wow.
So we're all
a lot of
spread out.
siblings, and the age range is pretty good
Yeah,
difference.
my younger sisters have nieces and nephews that are older and the same age as them. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
gotta be a little weird.
It can be. It's like, they have a nephew that's the same age. It's just one of them things when siblings are stretched out. But I was basically an only child until I was 5 because I didn't know anyone else and my parents weren't together. And then she remarries a guy that has kids that are 10 years older than me. One of them lived with their mother. The other one was with him for like a year, and then he moves away. And so then it's like I was the only child again. And then my sisters came along, at which point I was like full-time caregiver. I was either working or taking care of my sisters.
Yeah.
And given where we lived at most of their lives, because we didn't move back to Houston until, actually my mom didn't move back until I was 18. Moved to other small towns. My stepfather was the kind of person that liked to move you out in the middle of nowhere where you knew no one, and you basically couldn't get any help or anything. And you live in, it's like a horror movie where, this house in the middle of nowhere where no one can hear you scream kind of thing. And
Kind of eerie.
yeah. So I didn't know much about big city. It was kind of like my sister when she moved down here, because a decade ago, I moved my mom and my youngest sister from Oklahoma down to Texas. And she was trying to tell me she's driven in a big city before. She's been to Tulsa. I'm like, Tulsa's not a big city.
No, it's not. I found that out back in April. So yeah, Tulsa's not that big.
Yeah, it's.
Paul Sr. said his dad was from Sussex, and he has family from in Scotland and Ireland. And Dustin Cornelison, he says, I'm kind of a ginger too, Corey. I have really dark reddish brown hair, not super pale, but will burn if outside long. That's me. He's 6'5" and 320. So Yankee says I'm a ginger squatch. I'm just a hair bit shorter than you, Dustin. I'm 6'3", and I'm 280, 290. And then he also says he's got a second and third degree sunburn once as a teen, and he got blistered. And when they popped, I got sunburn on the new fresh skin. Horrible pain was on my back. Was on the back of my whole neck. Shit, dude. Damn. I know that
The only times I've sunburned have been really, really bad. I've never had a light sunburn, but my hair, if I wear red, my hair will look red. It's like it draws out the red in my hair.
And actually, I can't even say the word.
Accents, yeah.
Yeah.
Accentuates, whatever.
Thank you. That's the word I was trying to say. I have a problem sometimes saying certain words.
Yeah, I'm like a chameleon. My hair color and my eye color change depending on what I'm wearing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've got blue-green eyes and I've got light auburn hair. So it's it can look brown.
I got dark brown eyes. I wish mine would change like that, but they're kind of dark brown, but also kind of hazel, I guess you'd say.
Yeah,
And
my youngest sister has hazel eyes.
I have a shit ton of freckles, and growing up, my grandmother used to tease me, and my mom did too. And they would tell me that they threw shit through a screen door, and that's why I've got freckles. I heard that a lot growing up. I'm like, gee, thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Parents are great. But I've got freckles everywhere, but I'm not pale skinned. I'm not dark skinned, I'm not pale skinned. So it works. It's weird. They grow, they multiply. I think for some people they end up growing together.
Yeah, the more you're in the sun, the more you'll start getting freckles, and the more they'll darken up, and new ones will start popping up. I've been working outside all my life. I was in the oil field for a couple of years. Always did outside jobs, so that's one reason why I've got so many freckles.
Yeah, I've always done stuff where I was outside. I'm not meant to be indoors, from farm work. And I mean, when I was 14, it's weird. My tax records go back to when I was 14 because I worked at this auction barn where they didn't care. They just wanted a social security number and they wanted you to write down on a piece of paper that you were at least 18 years of age, or no, 16 years of age. So I'm 14. I put down my social security number. I wrote down that I was 16. And you're standing there, opening and closing gates and hopping up on the fence, running cattle through the chute. And
Yeah.
You never really worried about the bulls. Worst they would do is throw you in another pen. They generally didn't bother anyone. Everyone's like, you scared of that old bull? No. What I'm scared of is that old wild cow with a calf because she's going to hurt you.
Oh, yeah.
So you get your legs pinned up against the fence and she goes crazy. And yeah, that's the one you worry about. But it's always outside or, something where you're covered in chemicals or shit or God knows what. Peeling out layers of a stable with a pickaxe. You basically got layers of mildewed shit. It's coming up, with the wheelbarrow because it piles up over the years. Stacking hay in the top of a hay loft. At one time, I was
fun. Baling hay and then storing it. Yeah, that's good work, good exercise.
Oh yeah, we never had a pop-up loader. We took turns.
Yeah.
Whoever, you drove last, so you run beside the trailer and you buck hay bales up there. And we were always in shape. And sometimes some of the guys would come out there to get in shape for, football or whatever. And we'd start making bets as far as how long they were going to last. If they show up and they're drinking a Coke or something like that, we're like 100 bales, 150. Yeah. And, we'd cut them a check because, 100 bales later, they've got whatever Coke that was squirting out their nose. And it's like, okay, here's your money, have fun. And they go on about their way. That's honestly some of the hardest work you can do, that and finishing concrete.
Yeah. I haven't done that before.
Yeah, finishing concrete, you're out there on knee boards or what have you, and you can't stop because it's setting up. And it doesn't set up by drying out. That's a myth that some people believe. It sets up by a chemical reaction. That's why concrete will burn you. I've poured concrete underwater. And, you got a bull float, 3 foot underwater. But it will slow down the setting up process. But I mean, once it starts setting up, you got to keep going.
I haven't done concrete, but I've done bricklaying. But you got some more chats coming in. Dustin said, that's how I am too, Tara, LOL. He's talking about his eyes. He said he has hazel eyes and they change up, similar to you. And yeah. Dustin said, our tan are freckles, LOL. Yeah, they are.
You have a tan in very specific places.
Exactly. You got a new person that joined the chat. Bernie Sanchez, welcome to the chat. He says, good afternoon, folks. How's the freaking heat wave treating you? It's hot as hell out here. Jesus. It's like 104, I think, here where I'm at. And Dustin said, kid, y'all sound like me, LOL. Yeah?
Yeah. My thermometer says it's 97 degrees. I'm on I-10 somewhere around Anahuac, which is where the lady got ate by the hogs a couple of years ago.
I remember
Home
that.
healthcare nurse. Yeah,
Yes,
they'll
I
eat you. You're
remember
on the
that.
menu.
Oh hell yeah! Back in the day, I would back during like the Wild West, that's how they would dispose of bodies. They would just throw them in the hog pen, and the hogs would fucking eat everything, including the bones.
Oh yeah, make friends with a pig farmer, and you ain't got to worry
Yeah,
about evidence.
yeah. You don't have to worry about digging a ditch or anything.
Nope. I mean, it's. I'm sure a lot of bodies have been disposed of that way, but
I,
people, they're like, "Aren't you scared of the alligators?" No, I'm more scared of alligator Gar than the alligator.
oh fuck yeah!
Just when
Alligator
you're.
gars are mean as hell. I used to fish for them. They're
Well,
gnarly looking too.
when I was doing flood control, when we drain everything out, you go down there, basically noodle, and you'd pull the catfish out,
Yeah.
and you'd never pull the gar out. You'd kick them up on the bank, and then you'd grab them. And we had one guy try to grab one. Don't do that. That cut his arm all up.
And I don't know if you ever tried it, but I've tried alligator gar before, and that's some nasty ass fish.
Um,
It'd be better
it's not the
baked than eaten.
best. Yeah, I've bowfish for them because they don't breathe underwater. They've got nostrils and they have to come up. And when they roll
Yeah.
on the top to get air, that's when you pop them with the bow. And yes, I like bow fishing, but the actual alligators aren't going to bother you unless you're dumb enough to swim with them. You
Mhm.
know, somebody like the bayou down by my house has a 14-foot alligator in it. Am I swimming in the bayou? No. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that alligator because on land he can't catch me, and I'm not going to get
Yeah,
that close to him, and I'm
they
not going to
tire
swim with
real
him.
easily.
Yeah. Now hogs, on the other hand, thank God they can't climb a tree because you cannot outrun the hogs, and they will hurt you. They will kill you. They will eat you.
Yeah, especially like the wild boars with them big ass fucking tusks. They'll split you wide open quick, fast in a hurry.
Oh yeah.
I've seen it done.
And then there's confusion over hogs and javelina. Javelina aren't hogs. They call them hogs, but they're not. They're actually a rodent.
Yeah.
They're closer related to a rat and also closer related to an elephant and a hippo than they are a hog.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, I know what
They're
javelinas are.
Yeah, they're collared peccary. And they taste good. And there's an actual hunting season on them. They're a native animal. They're supposed to be
Yeah.
here. Hogs, on the other hand, are domestic hogs. They're an invasive species that got loose from the Spanish, the French, and the American settlers.
Yeah.
And they're highly destructive. But since rich people like hunting them out of helicopters, now people like breeding them. And it's like, we want to get rid of them. I mean, they're a tasty nuisance, but we would really like to get rid of them. They destroy our lawns, they destroy our crops.
Yep,
They're not
definitely.
supposed to be here, but they've
Yeah,
made an
that's why-
industry out of it.
That's why here in Texas, there's no hunting season for hogs. You can actually hunt them all
Yeah.
year long because they're an invasive nuisance.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
they
built my
wanna get rid of them.
AR-10 for. I built
What's up,
the
Jumpy?
308.
Jumpy
I
Killer
built-
Ox joined the chat and says, "Hey."
Hey, Jumpy, how you doing? Yeah, I
And-
built the 308 AR-10 for hunting hogs.
nice.
And I can show you right south of where I'm at right now, where they take people hunting alligators, and they guarantee you at least 14 an acre.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But you're hunting them with bang sticks,
I love
bang them in the head.
Gators, very, very tasty.
I like gator better than I like snake. I mean, rattlesnake's not bad, but I prefer gator over rattlesnake.
I've never had rattlesnake. It's on the bucket list of trying food, but alligator.
You're in Texas and you haven't had rattlesnake?
Yeah, I know. I've killed many of them. Just never ate it.
And buffalo's good too. Beefalo's a little better, especially
Yeah.
if your stomach's not used to that sort of food.
Mm.
Buffalo will really mess your stomach up.
Oh, I love
Um,
buffalo.
if you've never had buffalo burgers or anything like that before and you go someplace that's selling them, make sure you stay there for an hour or two just to make sure it's going to settle in your stomach right.
Oh, I've had it before. I've had buffalo burgers quite a few times in my life, and they're very good.
Oh, yeah,
Never had
they're
an issue
awesome.
eating them though.
The other thing about the wild hogs is they're a lot leaner
Yes.
than the domestic hogs. So, like you're making sausage and stuff, you kind of want to cut it a little bit, kind of like you do deer sausage.
Yeah, growing up, I knew somebody that would go hunting a lot. I never got to go hunting with them though, but we would get meat from them, and they would mix wild hog with deer meat. Really fucking good,
Yeah.
and sausage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you got to know how to cook it, or you're going to mess your pan up and your food.
Yep.
But and some people like the gamey flavor, some people don't. Some people want to cook it out. It's kind of subjective. Someone's mentioning great resource for shit hit the fan. I've worried about that. Like, not really worried. I've thought about that before. And I live in Redneckville. And everyone out there can hunt. It's all jacked up 4-wheel drives, rebel flags, and nobody cares. And it's not a racist thing. I don't have any flags flying around my place, but neighbors have them hanging up, and it's like you'd have to live down here to understand it. The neighbor on the other side of them's a black guy. They're cool. Uh,
Oh yeah,
but
no, I agree with that.
right, somebody in the city's like, oh my God, they must be Klan members. No, that wouldn't go over very well. Nobody cares what race you are, what anything.
Exactly. And most
they would
people don't even know the actual truth about the Confederate flag and what the actual colors and the stripes and everything stands for. Yeah, racist
the
people
blood
have
of
used it for
Christ
racist agenda, but the
right.
flag itself is not racist.
Yeah, it was the battle flag and the naval jack. It's not the stars and bars. They're so ignorant they call it the stars and bars. Well, here's a clue. The stars and bars has all the stars in a circle. And it looked real close to the stars and stripes. That's why they got the stainless banner and the bloodstained banner after that. And those are two very racist flags. And if you take 59 up north, I believe between 30 and 20, you'll see an oil company that has the stainless banner flying, the bloodstained banner flying real high. That is a very racist flag, if you know all the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cross is actually very Catholic in origin and then transferred. Yeah, that same cross is on the British flag. It's on the Australian flag. It's on all of them. It's not Saint Christopher. It's not Saint Peter. It's one of those saints.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is either off the top of my head. I used to have a picture of that actually explained what the meaning of the entire flag is, about the cross, and how the red
blood of
means,
Christ and all that stuff. Yeah,
and the white,
but then
the white was for like for the fallen or something like that. Am I right, or am I thinking of something else?
Oh, which flag? Because if you're talking about the stainless banner, which they put the battle flag up in the top corner on a field of white for the supremacy of the white race.
No, I'm talking about the Confederate
then they had
flag.
a red. Well, this is the actual Confederate flag, the bloodstained banner and the stainless. That white, that big field of white, stood for the supremacy of the white race, and the red stripe on the end was for the blood shed for it. That's why I'm saying those are very racist flags.
Yeah.
But the battle flag itself is actually very Christian in origin, and actually has some Catholic and Scottish roots from the Scottish immigrants that were coming over here. But it was It was used by the Dixiecrats and the Klan 100 years ago to promote the South, and that's where it got the bad name from. Is those
Exactly.
two
Yeah.
groups of people that went around putting up all the statues and everything. They weren't there after the Civil War. General Lee did not want any memorial to the Confederacy. He wanted to do away with it. And once the war was over, honestly, they should have listened to him. There was no Confederate flags of any kind, Confederate uniforms, anything at his funeral, and all that stuff did not start appearing until I think pretty close to the 1900s, and
I don't know
definitely.
if you want to. I don't know if you want to consider it a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm actually related to Robert E. Lee.
You can't change it.
No, you can't. But you got some more comments coming in. I'll read them for you. Bernie Sanchez says, with a high of 106, I'm not doing anything outside. Stay hydrated, folks. Yeah, it's fucking hot. Excuse my French. But Dustin said, we got wild hogs here in Bama, but not sure about them, the javelina things. No telling, though. You might. I don't know exactly all where they are. And
Javelinas.
Wild hogs are going to be a great resource for shit hit the fan. True?
Yeah, that's what I was reading. Javelinas are more like Texas, maybe Louisiana. I'm not sure if they have them in the rest of the South, but they have them all throughout the Southwest and in Mexico and South America. But that's what I was saying. We're all hunters. There's only so many of them, and there's a point too that we're kind of overpopulated as a species, where if we didn't have all these fertilizers and everything else to produce the amount of food that we produce, and all of a sudden we had to hunt for it, I don't think there's enough food.
There's so many people these days, especially the younger generations. They don't know shit about hunting. They would not be able to survive if shit hit the fan.
Well, it's not just that. I don't think there's enough animals. I think most areas would be hunted out very quickly.
Oh yeah, very cool. Yes, I agree with that. It would go extinct really fast.
Yeah, I think I would be fine if I didn't have all the neighbors and stuff that I do, but we all know how to hunt, and we'd all be taking hogs and everything. And see, the other part of that is you wouldn't have refrigeration or anything. So whatever you killed would have, it's not, you're going to be turning it into jerky or salt packing it. If you don't know how to use salt to preserve it or what have you, the old methods, that stuff's going to go bad quick. So you're going to need to kill something else pretty quick. And that doesn't matter if it's a deer, if it's a hog, or what it is. So that as a food resource, I think is going to go pretty quickly.
I would agree with that.
I mean, unless you live literally out in the middle of nowhere, on a mountain, where, you're not dealing with so many people. But, I live so close to Houston that, everybody that lives that works in the factories and all that stuff, Pasadena, Deer Park, LaPorte, that area, they all live up where I do. You're close enough, you can get to work in an hour or so. Then it used to be more country when I moved out there, but it's expanding, more people, and it's just too many people and too few resources.
Yep.
So
Bernie Sanchez says fried rattlesnake is really good. I have to take your word for it. I do want to try it one day. Just haven't really even thought about trying it or thought about getting it. And then Dustin says bison is a shit, super healthy. Yes, I love bison. It's very, very good. And then Burnaby says, I don't eat rabbits or wild boar in the summer months, just something we were told to stay away from growing up. In an emergency, though, maybe. And then
there's a disease.
Do what?
there's a disease, not rabbit starvation, but there's a fever that supposedly you could get from them in the summer months when they're breeding.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
they
then
breed
Ghost
year
Shadow
round, but
says,
yeah.
how soon till people eat Soylent Green?
We're probably already eating that, not knowing it.
You
I
never know.
mean, do you really know what's in your food? Unless you killed it and cleaned it yourself. Do you
Exactly.
really know?
Exactly.
They can take all them pieces and glue them together, make a steak, and sell it to you at Kroger's, and you think it's a ribeye? You know?
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever watched them do that before. You know, it's like they cut right through the tumors and everything else, and it's like all these funky pieces of meat, and they glue it together, make it look like a steak, and then you go grill it up on Sunday. It almost make a vegetarian out of you, you know?
He said Soylent. Ghost Shadow says Soylent Green was people.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll be pushing for that.
I actually just moved a little further out into the country, and I have more acreage now, about 2 acres, but it's big enough for what I want to do. But I'm actually going to start raising chickens so I can have that as a protein and also the eggs, and then probably some rabbits, and if I'm allowed to, probably some goats. Have a couple goats, just so I have
Eggs,
different protein options. That if shit hits the fan, I have that on my property, and
yeah,
can eat a
eggs are
little
the
at a
most,
time to let them reproduce.
yeah, eggs are the most easily absorbed source of protein.
Yeah.
So, and there's so many things you can do with it. If you notice, like half the soups that I make, I'm usually like um, beating up an egg and pouring it in there a little at a time, just a little at a time, and mix it up so you got little pieces of egg inside it. And you know, people have gotten away from doing stuff like that, but sometimes that was the only meat that people got for a long time. It's not, you know, it's dairy, but it's a chicken. You know, it's that was their protein source, and it's pretty good. But I don't like egg drop soup. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't either. But main reason I want to get the animals and stuff, not only for protein and whatever, but it'd be great for like bartering for other stuff that you may need. If you know if things do get that bad where shit hits the fan, so it's like a money source basically, to be able to buy shit, barter. And Ghost
Yeah, that.
Shadow, I've seen videos of that, and it's rather gross. But he said get halibut fresh from the ocean. When you start eating it, you can watch the worms start crawling out of the meat.
Oh yeah. We're a lot less parasite infected than we used to be. And the healthiest people on earth, as far as their immune systems, actually have quite a few parasites in them. That's the people in like the Congo, the Amazon, that, you know, basically have grown up in the wilderness and exposed to every parasite and pathogen. And if they live to adulthood, they're the healthiest people on earth as far as their immune systems and stuff go, because it's been tested, but they still have parasites. And that medium rare steak in the apocalypse, although it's wonderful, might not be a good idea, because one of the points in cooking your food thoroughly, especially pork, like we were talking about all the wild hogs have a lot of parasites, and you really want to eat pork well done. You don't want a, what do they call that lung one, whatever. You know, you end up getting these parasites that affect your lungs or your brain or what have you. So you want to make sure that that meat is very well cooked.
Oh yeah, pork. You have to make sure there's no pink in it at all. You got to cook it well done. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember what they're called, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah. It's not just the hookworms and stuff. It's the I think it starts with an L, you can get them from crawfish and stuff like that too, because that parasite has a life cycle that goes from like the water to a fish, and hogs can get it, and fish can get it, and then you get it, and then it goes through you, and then it goes back to the water. You know, the life cycles of some of these parasites and the organisms that they inhabit is kind of scary, but it's still interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I love eating crawfish. I love crawfish.
yeah, just make sure it's done. Don't ever eat them raw.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, mud bugs, no problem with them.
Oh, I
Got your
love good
potatoes and your corn, and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff. I don't know if I'm going to cook any of those for my channel ever, although there's plenty of them around here. That's a big deal, is, crawfish. I got stands selling them everywhere, that and boudin and everything else. But one thing I'd like to do at some point, because to me this is a survival skill, I think one of the most important survival skills is to know how to cook from scratch, and to kind of learn some of those old ways of doing things where, okay, you have a chicken. You have to eat this chicken. You have to make a few meals out of this chicken. And you have no refrigeration, no anything like that. So you boil the chicken, you debone the chicken, then you take the bones and you make a stock out of the bones and the vegetable stuff that you're going to take the chicken noodle soup in. You may make one dish with the chicken where, like, you eat that tonight, and then you take what's left over of the meat and what have you, and you make like your chicken soup, whether it's chicken and rice or chicken noodle soup or something like that, the next day with your own stock. Or you can just make chicken noodle soup the same way, where you boil it like a small chicken and you debone it, and then you put the bones back in the pot. And traditionally you'd have like a chicken foot or pig's feet or something like that in there with it. I'm not going to do that.
No.
They can keep that in the old world. But then you take and you make a stock out of the chicken bones, and then you take all that chicken meat that you just deboned from it after you strain it and everything, and you add it to it with your celery and your onion and your garlic and everything. And then you add your noodles to it. I need to do at some point, show, how to make noodles from scratch and store them.
I'll definitely watch that, because I'm all about I love cooking.
Yeah, and you can use that for more animals than just a chicken. It's just knowing how to do it. Where, don't throw the bones away, Even
you can make great stock from it.
Yeah, especially if it was a shit hit the fan situation, never throw your bones away. Because even if you don't,
you can utilize everything.
Right, and that's what people used to do.
Dustin actually commented about a book, and I've been meaning to pick it up. I just keep forgetting to do it, and I will get that book. It's called The Lost Ways. Have you heard about it?
I think I've heard of several books like that. I think there's a guy that I get advertisements from sometimes that's doing something similar.
Yeah, that old guy. Yeah, The Lost Ways.
Yeah.
How they used to do stuff way back in the day.
Right. So, it's good to know. I mean,
exactly.
If nothing else, you saved all those bones. It's a small animal. The next day you make some stock from it, and you got a little rice or something like that you can add to it. That's a meal,
Ghost Shadow says you can get heartworms easier from pork. And
yes.
then, Mark Malone, I think this is the word you were trying to think of. I don't know how to pronounce it. I might butcher it. Trichinella?
Yes.
Trichinella has been eradicated from farm pork, is what he said.
That's hookworms.
Yeah. And then Dustin said he went to his local gun store and got 2 PE/hybrid lightweight plates they had. He said his steel plates were way too heavy to move around in. So yeah, that's cool. Ghost Shadow says salmon worms will kill you. They get into your gut and eat their way out of your contents, and acid from your stomach leaches into your body. That's true. That'll kill you very quickly. That's not good.
Yeah,
That's why
we're
you die
still
from- Go ahead.
we're still in the food chain. You know, we're at the top of the
Yeah.
food chain, but we're still a part of it. And there are many organisms that are smaller than us that will eventually eat us and can also feed on us while we're alive. And honestly, there are a few organisms that we can't live without. Where I heard it put one time that there are more cells in your body that are not your own than are your own. You can't even digest food without another creature doing it for you.
Yeah.
The bacteria that are in your stomach that we have like a symbiotic relationship with, the cultures of bacteria and organisms that are on your skin that, if kept in a healthy balance, keeps your skin healthy. There's other microorganisms, they live in your blood, they live everywhere. We have a relationship with those, and when they get out of balance, we get sick. So we're definitely in the food chain. We're part of it. And some of the animals that want to feed on us or what have you are beneficial, and some of them aren't.
Yeah,
So,
Dustin said it's wild what all parasites and elements you can get from common foods. It's very true. And Ghost Shadow says, unless the chicken bones are black, that indicates chicken was fed arsenic. It builds up in the bones. Huh.
what's funny is all the places down here that say no fishing, or that you can't eat the fish from there, and all the people that fish in them. And the reason is, it wasn't that long ago, like the 60s and the 70s, you knew when they were printing new leaflets to go in your newspaper because the water in the river turned different colors. And everything got dumped in the water and flushed out. Well, there's so much mercury and other chemicals and stuff. And seafood is that kind of, it's the basis of the whole food chain, from the plankton and stuff in the ocean to the larger fish to the fish that we eat. That's all going to eventually, through that food chain, come up on land. There's so much fish and stuff that still has such high levels of things like mercury in them that you're not supposed to eat them, or you're only supposed to eat so much fish. And I can do a pescatarian diet. I like seafood.
I do too.
But that's a concern of mine. One of the few diets I've done that actually worked was a pescatarian diet, but I'd have a cheat day every once in a while and have a ribeye. But then how much mercury and stuff like that are you building up in your system?
Yeah.
Eating all that seafood. So,
You got to do I don't eat seafood all the time. I just eat it once in a while. One of my favorite fishes to eat is mahi-mahi. I love that.
Oh, mahi-mahi's
so
good.
I love
and I
that
like
fish.
swordfish.
I haven't had swordfish.
Oh, it's awesome. I cooked some last year. Swordfish steaks. It's real bony though. Like you got a lot of bones in there. You got to watch out for it, but the meat is so good. I think I was thinking earlier also of a lung fluke. I think they're brain flukes too, but I was thinking more specifically of a lung fluke. The one
Uh,
that Mark Malone and them are talking about is like, the hookworms and stuff traditionally you think of from pork, but you can get like the lung fluke because of its life cycle. You can get it from seafood. You can get it from a hog. You get, it gets picked up and it gets ate. The hog eats the crawfish and it's got the fluke in it, and
mm-hmm.
it gets
And it just
passed through the
transfers.
body. Right. The other way that people used to get those before modern sanitary practices, and I was listening to this guy who was a special forces medic, I think, in Vietnam, and they had a problem with it. And one of the things that they would do, or he might have just been a medic that was working with special forces, one of those radio programs where they have those guys that are on it. And he went through, and all these illnesses these children were dying from were all preventable. And a lot of it had to do with, they ran around barefoot, they used the restroom on the ground, there was no sanitation sort of stuff. And, running around barefoot when you're a kid is how you get some of the parasites, like, the worms and stuff, and they go in from your feet and they crawl your way up, their way up. And he went through, providing restrooms for them and better hygiene practices. Because, back in the 60s and stuff, a lot of them people weren't that far off from how some uncontacted tribe would live. The Montagnards were very close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our parents' generation, the Vietnam generation, the hippies and all them. And, so they didn't have the sanitation. And even in the United States, most people didn't start getting toilets until the 50s. I've used outhouses. We're not talking porta cans, outhouses. Then people still had, that's where the term shit-eating chicken comes from. And you might want to take a look if you don't want to get pecked in the ass. And sanitation is what prevents disease. A lot of the diseases from, like, one of the first things, we all talk about shit hit the fan and all that stuff a lot. One of the first things that would happen if any extended length of time, and if you look at places like Haiti and what have you, where they get hit hard for an extended period of time, they have no electricity, no sanitation. One of the first diseases that hits, and will definitely hit us, is cholera. And that's because your waste is too close to your water source. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the sanitation thing again. And then you're looking at different food sources and what have you. Can you eat this and can you eat that? And, a little undercooked meat, what have you, you get parasites. But a lot of it literally is, and when I say, the hygiene practices, it isn't as much taking a shower every day. I would prefer that you did, if possible. But realistically, that's more a convenience thing for us, for our noses. There are many reasons that your skin is actually healthier if you don't shower every day. There's supposed to be some sort of colonization in your skin of healthful bacteria, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just our noses, we're so used to it that, it's like, dude, go take a shower. You reek, that sort of thing. But it's more.
That's like during the pandemic and everything, they were peddling the hand sanitizer so much, and people don't realize that there's good bacteria on your skin that you need. And when you use hand sanitizer so much, it just wipes that stuff out. And
it's like before I go hunting, I don't even use soap.
Yeah.
Because have you ever been camping for a while and somebody comes out that, they've got a fresh shower and everything, they haven't been out there very long, and what's the first thing you smell? You smell like Irish Spring.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Deer can smell that too. But what I'm talking about more is our waste products, not just what comes out of our body, but what comes, like our waste products from the kitchen, the stuff that we send to the landfill that would not be going there, the animals that come and the parasites that they bring to feed off of that. So it's controlling your waste, your trash, your food. Hopefully you have some kind of animals around that you can feed your waste to. Hogs would be great for that.
Hogs will eat anything.
Yeah, hogs, dogs. Dogs will eat most anything. My grandmother in Oklahoma, I don't think her dogs ever ate dog food, but when she was 80 years old, she was still cooking like she had all the boys working on the farm. So her dogs ate better than most people.
Right, yeah.
Right. You got to control that because there's the filth and the bacteria that build up, and you have risk of infection from the trash, the debris, tetanus, all those sorts of things. So everybody worries about, what kind of gun do I need? How much ammo do I need? I think at a certain point you are kind of stocking up for the biggest, baddest person on your block if you've got that much of it. I'm not against it. I've got quite a bit myself. But if you have that much of it, odds are people know you have that much of it. So you're probably going to have to defend it. But there are a lot of things that...
It's not good to let a bunch of people know what all you have or what you're doing just because you make you a target.
Yeah, that whole loose lips sink ships kind of thing.
Exactly.
But then again, the other side of that is if you have a lot of things and you have neighbors that don't, people are like, hoard everything, take care of your family. Well, you have neighbors. It's good bartering tools,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's, hey, you have chickens. I have 9mm. Oh, you don't have a gun? Would you like one now? They may have been an anti-gun before, but I guarantee you they want one now.
Exactly. That's why I have a lot of stuff that I dedicate for the necessity if it rises for bartering.
Yeah, here's a Spanish Mauser and a box of 7mm. Have fun. Yeah. And
Mark Malone says, yeah, the Trichinella spiralis, it's a roundworm or a nematode. And then Ghost Shadow says, chickens fed arsenic because it makes them much more fattened up, and chickens test clean for hormones. That's fucked up.
Yeah, and a lot of your broilers are fed a lot of stuff you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Dustin says when at the doctor's, he asked to get parasitic and antibiotics to stock up. Some doctors will do it. Another source, but more expensive, is Jace Medical. Docs give meds/instructions priced like uninsured visits. Huh. That's good to know. Yeah, and that's one thing it's hard to do is get antibiotics and stuff because even that doctors are hesitant to give out unless you absolutely need it.
Right, and some things are more limited quantities, and there's one kind of worm I saw one time. I can't remember what the guy ate to get them. I think they were a salad, of all things. And I like salads. Salads are not a problem for me. I like having fresh greens around, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then he had these little white worms crawling around his gums in his mouth. It's like, okay, that looks like it's got to be uncomfortable. It's,
yeah.
You got to know what you're eating. You got to take care of it. You got to keep it hygienic. So, once again, like I said, if shit hit the fan, you're probably not taking a shower every day because water is
hell
a
no.
fairly important thing that you're not going to
Mhm.
waste on showering. You might take a whore bath in a cup at best.
I grew up doing that all my life, so that's no problem with me.
Yeah. More importantly, though, like I said, is what do you do with your waste? Your trash, the debris that you could hurt yourself on or get an infection from, the stuff that's going to build up, bacteria is going to grow on it and try to decompose it. And how can you use that to your advantage as well, too? I mean, you could have a mulch pile or something like that you could use things like that to your advantage. Where, okay, here's the scraps, and you could have hogs, dogs, whatever, eating it, and then you could have some place that you could put those sort of things where it could break down, and then you could use that for fertilizer because you're not going to Lowe's and getting it at that point for your garden. But what would probably kill most people if that ever happened, and I don't see anything ever getting to that point. I could see, after a hurricane or something. I think I've said before that we were without power for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks after Hurricane Ike. And that's an experience. Luckily, I'm a truck driver, so I'm used to a different kind of life anyways. But the what would if that ever happened for some reason, I think it would take more than what's going on in the world right now to do it. What would kill most people wouldn't be starvation. It would be disease.
No, yeah, disease, and then the people that don't have any kind of stocks and stuff, the raiders, there's a term I can't remember off what they're called, but the people that'll come and steal your shit, that's going to be high up there too is the problem.
Yeah. I think disease would take more people out first, and
definitely,
before you would really, once the trash man stops coming, people that didn't grow up burning their trash and having a mulch pile for the garden, having animals to throw their scraps to, there's reasons these things became popular over time. That, people, they did that. That was just a fact of life. That's what they did. And people that aren't prepared to do things like that, that's going to cause disease. That's, like I said, one of the first ones that are going to happen is going to be something like cholera. Hold on a second. This may cut me out. I need to change my logbook.
Okay. I don't know if the chat can still hear me, but Dustin, you have 4 pistols, 2 rifles that you keep for bartering. That's a good thing. I've got a couple pistols that I would do that with, maybe a couple shotguns, but most what I have is for hunting and self-defense.
Yeah, having stuff for bartering is really good. I think Dustin Cornelius and there said marauders.
Marauders, yes. Marauders. Thank you. I couldn't think of the damn word.
Marauders, highwaymen, vagabonds. Honestly, I mean, look at the lengths people are willing to go to because they ran out of formula, or they ran out of toilet paper, formula being more important. And that's another thing that people need to kind of know how to do. but where are you going to get things like fenugreek or, blessed thistle, stuff like that? And it's taking care of the next generation. It's what the body was designed to do. And trying to figure out a way I can put this on YouTube. You're basically drinking tea made from fenugreek or, blessed thistle, and there's a few other things, but those work really good. Fenugreek works really good. And a regular pumping schedule, like every 2 hours or so, to kind of get the factory back up and pumping so that you can feed your child. There's things like that. And I think women who can do that or that are already doing that would be a invaluable resource, because people are still going to have kids and infants still need to eat, and they would be going on more solid food probably a lot quicker. If there might be young ones around, like really young ones, food to stock up on, like say if you have relatives that would probably come to your house or something, things like grits. Grits probably before oatmeal. Of course, there's mashed potatoes, but you're going to need some variation in the diet. And, mashed carrots, stuff like that. But my son was pretty much raised on grits. Yeah, it's a good food for babies at a certain point. I mean, you still got to have milk for so long. You're not getting around that. And that would be a big thing. And let's say, you have a child that's starving. What are you willing to do to feed them?
Yeah, exactly. Ghost Shadow said that he has a Sky pistol that he to EDC in the city as policy. It's a handgun that police take possession of, has to be destroyed. I'm not going to lose a good gun when I have to use it for self-defense. Yeah, the Sky pistols, I remember they were on a watch list for a while. I don't know if they still are, because I was inquiring about one a few years ago at my local gun store. And he said, yeah, there's people that will buy them because, they come in a variety of colors and they would like to get multiple colors. And that if you buy too many at once, they actually start looking into you because they're used in crimes, because they're like a throwaway gun, like a Saturday Night Special type. And then he also says many people, and I really agree with this, and this is one thing I didn't think of a while ago when we were talking about it, but he says many people are going to die because they can't get medications such as blood thinner, anti-rejection drugs, thyroid drugs, you name it. Yeah, if shit ever hit the fan, those people that are sick and dependent on drugs, they're going to die off really quick because they can't get their medication.
Type 1 diabetics, people reliant on medication. Then you'll probably have the disease, which the disease is going to take anyone with a weakened immune system. People, even if you don't necessarily need the medication to survive, if your immune system was already weakened from, let's say, you had some kind of STD, whether, gonorrhea, herpes, what have you, when you were younger, that has effects on your body, has effects on your liver, your kidneys, all kinds of things that don't start presenting until later in life. And you start having complications from them. And, there's other diseases that do the same thing. And now your immune system's weakened. Now you're exposed to all these bacteria and everything that you were not exposed to before. Yep. So even if you don't need the insulin to stay alive, even if you don't need, this heart medication and that, some disease that you had that's weakened your body, Um, it's like, right now I'm in a weakened state. I would be very vulnerable because of the injury to my leg and the risk of infection. I had COVID last year that my lungs are still recovering from, that
Mhm.
COPD from that, things that I can't do that I used to be able to do. I was starting to build up my lung capacity again before I got wounded by a motorcycle accident. And, you know, getting an infection from a broken bone and you die,
Yep. Yeah.
you know, stuff like, those people would be going very quickly. A lot of the old would die quick, you know. Just think of things like you have no air conditioning and how many people die already.
Of heat strokes or heat exhaustion. Yeah, because people these days are, so comfortable and relying on ACs that heat like we're dealing with now, they wouldn't be able to survive in. And Dustin actually made a comment about something like that. He said, everybody's not like us that grew up in a country living that way. It gets ugly fast when folks see their kids going without food and water. People will change quick to what they will do. Very true.
Well, look how we're having the shortages with the formula and stuff like that. Shit
Yep.
hits the fan, that's going to be one of the first things that are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have an infant, you have to feed the infant. You know someone who's breastfeeding. Are they your friend? Are they not your friend?
Yep.
You know, um, grandmother drank a little tea because it was time for her to go. Mom drank a little tea because she had to feed her baby. There's all kinds of things in there. Some of the old ways of learning how to do things. And that just happens to be one thing that I've been able to do a few times. And I had to help my sister with a couple of years ago. So, what will you do for your kids? What are you going to do for an infant?
Yep.
What are you going to do if they're not your friends, but your baby still needs to eat? Are you now going to have a prisoner?
Some people probably will go that far. Yeah, kidnap someone that's breastfeeding and hold them just so they could have breast milk for their baby. I mean, I can see shit like that going down quick, fast, in a hurry.
Right.
So.
The things, I guess, because I'm coming from things from a different perspective, having to have fed babies, and I kind of see it more on that end. What would you do? And I have a little sister that has one that is being weaned at the moment, and she had a hard time producing, and I was helping her with that and that sort of thing. And the recent stuff with the baby food shortages is probably why I would think of that more than, say, y'all would, unless, of course, you had a newborn or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just basic survival instincts. It's not that you're a bad person or anything like that. It's that you have a child, and if you had to choose whose child's going to survive,
Right. Yeah. That's like me when my son was a child. 'Cause now he's fucking 16. Makes me feel old. But when he was younger, we had enough money to pay the bills and get by. And, there's times where we couldn't really afford much food. There was many times I gave my son food and I just went hungry. I'd rather see him fed and me stay a little hungry than because I couldn't watch my son not eat and, say, I'm hungry, Dad. I couldn't go through that. So that mentality will flip in a hurry when it's your child.
Oh, definitely. I've seen my mom go hungry. so that she could fix me a cold Spam sandwich.
Yep.
We're not even talking fried Spam. We're talking a little mustard because it didn't require refrigeration, and
Hmm.
cold slices of Spam, and or a can of Vienna sausages, and she had nothing to eat. It's what you would do for your children so that they would survive. That's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
my mom did that a lot with when we were growing up because we were fucking dirt poor growing up. And the way I found out that I'm allergic to hot dogs is mom used to take the hot dogs and just wrap them in croissant uh, uh, from a can and make pig in the
mhm.
blankets. Well, she ended up having to cook me other stuff just as cheap because back then shit was really cheap. But yeah, she used to cook pig in the blankets, and that's how I found out that I was definitely allergic to this shit. So yeah, there was times where we just ate like had tortillas and fry, pan fried onion and just ate tortilla wrapped onions.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of times growing up that it wasn't sausage gravy over biscuits. It was gravy over toast.
yep.
And I've literally seen my mom take powdered coffee creamer and make gravy from it and pour it over toast so that we could eat.
Hmm.
And it's we would go to town like maybe once or twice in the summer and actually eat at like a Dairy Queen or something like that. And that was just such a huge treat to have. And of course, hunger is the best cook. You know,
Oh
things that
no,
might
yeah,
not
you can come
necessarily
up with
taste
some
good.
crazy ass concoctions when you're starving. I mean, that's how a lot of shit that I grew up cooking was just, random shit in the cupboard. Let's make a meal out of it and
Right,
find out what
right.
works and what doesn't.
There's some stuff
Uh,
that you would think is nasty that would taste good because you're starving and you really don't give a damn. You know,
exactly. Do you want me to
and
catch up on these comments for you?
yeah, sure. I need to start picking up things and packing them up. I just got to the yard.
Uh, Ghost Shadow says Sky Pistols is not something that will hold up to being shot a bunch. It works, just not durable. Got them brand new here for 100 for serial number of 150. Yeah, I heard Skies aren't very reliable, but they're like a Saturday night special, and uh, it'd be an easy bartering tool. Say here, I'll give you this if you give me that. And then Dustin says another huge one is fiber rich foods and laxatives and anti nausea meds. Our diets will change at some point to things with higher starch and other backed up foods will be eaten repetitively. Yeah.
Yeah, things to grow in your garden. If you can grow ginger, grow that. That's a great stomach medication. Garlic is also
Mm-hmm.
a good medication. Have some, garlic growing around. Then there's spices like marjoram, sage, stuff like that for your food. But there's a lot of things. I mean, you should have some aloe vera, something like that, growing for like burns
Yeah.
and what have you.
Turmeric is a good anti inflammatory.
Yes, it is. These are
So,
things that you can have in a little spice garden. And you
exactly.
don't have to live in the country. I mean, you can have it growing on your porch in an apartment.
Yeah. Or in your windowsill. I mean, yeah, you can grow this
Yeah,
stuff anywhere.
yeah. A lot of these spices, like a lot of people when they came over here from the old world, they literally did that. They'd grow stuff like that. They'd have their little plant out here. They got a little rosemary, they got a little oregano or what have you, and and they have little
Yeah.
spices and stuff like that to put with their food.
And I'm not sure what it is about rosemary. I mean, you might know, but my wife, when it was before she had her hysterectomy, when it was that time of the month, she would get cramps and stuff. So when I made food like chicken leg quarters or whatever, I'd always sprinkle a bunch of rosemary on her portion, and it would actually make her feel better.
Different things
So,
work for different people.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. So I've always stocked up on rosemary just for her. Even now, it still helps her in different ways like that. So I've always thought it was weird how, just a regular herb or something that you wouldn't think of could actually be beneficial. So it's
Or what
good to
about willow
have.
tree bark?
What about it?
I think that's kind of like aspirin. Aspirin was
Oh, yeah.
originally from a tree bark.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking that a while ago, but I couldn't remember which bark it came from.
I think it's willow. And they're just these old skills like, being able to make whiskey. That's one thing, but what else can you use whiskey for? That's a
Yeah.
great antiseptic,
Antiseptic.
you know.
Yep.
Um, Beer, not so much, but beer is also good for your belly, your stomach, for settling your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
It's we've all drank beer, so um, you can't at a certain point you can't get drunk off of beer no more. It just doesn't work,
Yeah.
and it's just something. Okay, this pairs good with a steak, or it's kind of good for your belly. So is some wine. Um, Knowing how to make stuff like that, and to be completely honest, you may just want to escape from everything and sit back and watch the world spin for a while. you know,
Yep, yep.
just like the hell shit.
Ghost Shadow says transplant patients will not live too long without anti-rejection medicines. Yeah, a lot of those sick people they'll die off really fast. Dustin says women will be held at gunpoint and made breastfed someone's kids, like you were saying. No doubt that would happen. Then would take her for later. Yeah.
Well,
He
yeah,
also says one reason I'm kind of glad I don't have kids. Catch 22. Yeah.
yeah. It's it's
You'll do
amazing.
any.
You know instantly that you would jump over a cliff just to push them back over it. There's
Oh hell yeah!
there's no there's no second thought because there was never a first one. You
Exactly.
know,
It's just
it
that parental instinct.
yeah, that parental instinct of I will kill you before you hurt my child. And
Exactly.
it's a response. It's 0 to batshit crazy and just an instant. There's
What? That's like years
um
ago. My son was probably about 10 years old, and my little brother kept accusing my son of stealing something from him, and he was just being an asshole to my son. And even though he's my brother, I told him, dude, you need to stop. My son's already told you several times he didn't take it. And he kept on and kept on. I ended up whooping my brother's ass because he about just say I just whooped his ass and I put him in his place. And then I found his fucking property that he accused my son of stealing where he sleeps. So I didn't even think about it. Even though he's my brother, I just protected my son. But Ghost Shadow says
yeah.
ketchup over noodles with salt and pepper was not uncommon for dinner. Yep. You eat what you can when you can't afford much. Even though that sounds nasty, it's something to put in your belly.
Yeah, I'll be right back in just a second. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, Dustin. There was a lot of times if it wasn't for my grandparents, uh, they helped out with food and money with bills, but not much because we grew up dirt poor. But my grandparents actually gave me money so I could play baseball and stuff growing up. Otherwise, I would have probably had a pretty shitty childhood. that was kind of a nice escape just to have something to do. And I didn't know that, Ghost Shadow. Willow bark tea lowers blood pressure and helps with headaches. That's good to know because I get headaches quite often.
Yeah, I had a great aunt. She was married into the family, different tribe on that end. And actually, she wasn't part of that part of my family. She was part of my step family. And she was married in, but she was Sioux. And I would go root hunting with her, and we get a lot of snake root. Pharmaceutical companies were wanting a lot of snake root at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she would dry it all out on window screens, and she would point to things like, I wish I could remember everything she used to tell me, because she'd point, you can eat this plant. I mean, she was born in the 1800s, I knew my great-great-grandmother too. She was born in 1880, and the stories they could tell. And it's like, you can eat this, you can eat that, this is medicine. And she would literally dry this stuff out on window screens in the backyard, and a guy would come and buy it.
Right now, that's like ginseng hunting's pretty damn popular over in, what was it? Where is it? West Virginia or something like that? One of the Virginias.
Yeah,
and
that grows in Oklahoma and stuff like that too.
Yeah, mushrooms. I've seen shows in the past where people hunting mushrooms or truffles. I mean, that shit is pretty good, but it's a lot of work. Dustin says wild lettuce is a very common plant in lots of areas, growing wild, that can be made into tinctures for good pain meds called morphine plant. Yeah, I've read up on it a little bit and heard of it.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Isn't that Dustin in that book, The Lost Ways? Isn't that where they talk about stuff like that too? And then welcome in. Eduardo Espinoza joined the chat and said, is root beer beer?
Actually, it is. Root beer is a product of the Prohibition era. Before Prohibition, we didn't really drink beer like we do today. Like a good Pilsner beer, that comes from my people on the other side of my family. There's a place called Pilsner, Czech Republic, if you wanted to look that up. So if you're drinking beer, you're appropriating my culture. But if it's not honey beer or mead, But what most people drank over here was cider. And they drank a whole lot of cider over here. Well, during Prohibition, people started making root beer as something to drink, non-alcoholic. And I'm sure there's an alcoholic version somewhere. But it was actually a beer. It was actually a beer to be drank during, they came up with during Prohibition.
That's cool. I didn't know that part about it. I mean, I probably did once upon a time, but I've forgotten so much shit over the years. Got to forget stuff to remember new stuff. And then Dustin says, sassafras plants smell and taste root beer-ish.
Yeah.
And then Ghost Shadow said his mom survived World War II Germany, then was stuck in East Germany, escaped before the Berlin Wall went up. Damn.
Yeah, my grandmother and great-grandfather on that side of the family survived World War II Czechoslovakia. And my great-grandfather, there were only daughters that made it over here. There's a history behind that. The Germans got really pissed off after we assassinated that Reinhard fella. But he ended up as forced labor in the coal mines because Hitler had a coal problem. You couldn't make gas, you couldn't make diesel or anything like that without coal. That's what they used to heat it up. And when he came over here, he worked coal mines, and he brought, his daughter and his brother, who also worked the coal mines, and his kids, so you end up with a bunch of great aunts and stuff like that made it over here. The men that made it over were mostly older, and there's like that whole generation thing of where most of the men, the young men, were not alive. And some of the families stayed over there. And from what most of them will tell you, the Germans were bad. I mean, these are people that had us selected for extermination and the final solution, along with the Jews. But it gets muddier than that, because there are some factors of Slavic groups that actually help the Nazis and that sort of thing. But they'll all tell you
Kinda
the
like
communists
George
were
Soros,
worse.
right?
Yeah, and they would all tell you that the communists were worse than the Nazis were for what they went through. And it's just interesting. I wish I could remember more of the stories. I wish I knew some of the people that had those stories personally, where they weren't, second and third hand handed down. Some of the people I knew, some people I don't. And, they lived through that, then they came over here, and it's just amazing what they went through, especially when you think of how not that long ago that was.
Yeah.
That's literally a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
There are people still alive who lived through that. And, if you did not work for the Nazis, they pressed you into labor, which was basically slave labor. And slave is actually a Roman word for Slav. And it's bad when so many of your people have been enslaved that you have naming rights over the freaking word. And if you fought against them, they killed you. You were in the resistance, they killed you, or you got sent to Terezin, and right up the road from Terezin was Auschwitz. And I found the last names. I don't know if I'm related to any of them, but I found people on the victims list of both Terezin and Auschwitz that have last names the same as members of my family.
Damn.
Yeah, who were not Jewish. That's not the only people they killed there.
Yeah.
They killed quite a few other people.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's like they used to do experiments on the like special needs people, and it's just it's fucked up what they did back then.
Yeah, well, they selected some of us for Germanification as well, too. It's like, okay, you can become German. They had their whole, what do they call that? What's the word? The whole genetic thing, where you don't want the retarded to breed, and you only want to breed the best qualities. And that's where all the abortion stuff kind of came from.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
Yeah, they had that whole thing going on. So it's like, well, this group of Slavic people is good for Germanification, and this group is not. And but my stepfather's family, they're German. Like, they speak German. And they came over here after the Weimar dollar crashed, lighting cigars with $100 bills. Damn. Not because they were rich, but because they were worthless.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I heard that story growing up of how when they came over here, they were lighting cigars with $100 bills. And it's like, oh, they must have had money. They must have had something. And then you look further into that story, and no, the Weimar dollar was worthless.
Yep.
So you wipe your ass with it, you know?
Mhm.
It's like that whole, what's that guy that did the rest of the story, you know? Yeah, you tell a story. Oh, they're coming over here on the boats and they're doing this and they're lighting their cigars with that, and this is the rest of the story.
Yep.
So the part that doesn't get handed down as well as the others. So yeah, I've got a
Justin said
clean.
that his younger brother, 30, is closest thing to his kid. He's on the he has autism spectrum and some moderate developmental things, self-esteem issues. Nicest person and best friend to me. Like y'all feel about your kids. Yeah, I have a special needs sister that she's 2 years older than me, but she's more like my kid because I've taken care of her all my life. And then Dustin actually says, be amazing and very interesting to hear some of the stories from her, meaning you, Tara. Understandable. A lot of the people don't talk about it, though. Extraordinary feats.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
it's not all good though, because I mean, some of it's bad. I mean, okay, it's one thing to be relentless and just keep getting back up and all that, but then it causes a lot of scarring mentally and a lot of unhealthy behaviors and times when I should probably say no and give up, end up hurting myself because I don't. It's.
Mm-hmm.
But you come from nothing, and well, you don't come from nothing. There's family history and all that kind of stuff, but I came from literal poverty, and I remember the last time I was homeless and getting a job riding in this guy's truck and helping him unload, getting paid as a lumper. And, so I would sleep in between all the stops, and he was delivering to like IHOPs and Kettles and all that, so they'd feed you when you were there. And he was injured. He had broke something or hurt something. I can't remember what it was, so he couldn't do it. And I'm like, I'll do it. And I'd sleep in his truck between the stops, and I would unload. I would take the free food. That was my food. And that was actually at nighttime when you did that and made all these deliveries. So then the daytime, you just kind of found some place to hide. You crawl up in a culvert in Houston, Texas, trying to keep cool and get some rest and that sort of thing, and then go back. And then I got a 72 Volkswagen Super Beetle, and I started living in that. And I fixed it up, Baha'd it, then moved in and took care of my grandmother. And she was on hospice. And, that was kind of like the start of crawling out, if that makes any sense. And not that I was perfect by any means or any of that. It just was what it was. And I still had a lot of issues to deal with that would end up coming to a head at one point. They always do. You can't run from it.
Oh no, you have to face it eventually, because if you don't, it's just gonna make shit worse.
Yeah, well, you eventually run into that brick wall, and that brick wall is where I met my wife. And I don't remember meeting my wife. That was a bad accident, and that's where I got impaled. And Yeah, my body is a story told in scars. But
Mine too. Mine too.
I had, and I was so pissed off because when they were loading me on Life Flight, and it kind of brought back some memories recently, recent events did, but where they cut my clothes off of me. They cut off brand new Carhartts, brand new Red Wings. And because at that time I was doing railroad, but I was a subcontractor for the railroad. And, they bring out this is in the 90s, they'd bring out $400 per diem in cash per week. And they used us to do everything that the union couldn't do because they were union and they were all safety and everything. And we've been up for 4 or 5 days and we're going to do it, Yeah. But I wake up in the hospital and I get my clothes back that are all cut up and everything because they literally cut them off and open you up like a sardine can, peeling your clothes off. There's no modesty, no anything to it. And
I've done that. I've had to do that to some people when I was in EMT, and it's from that perspective, it's for me personally, it was kind of uncomfortable doing because you're literally trying to save the person, but you have to take their clothes off, like especially when we had to do like the paddles. It was just kind of uncomfortable because I felt bad had to do that to the person. You try to do it and keep their self-respect in place and their modesty, but on the other hand,
but there's only so much they can do. I mean, this is a time when you didn't see most things, and I didn't hold it against them. It's just, it was what it was. And they strap you down to a board and they load you on the helicopter and you go on your way. But I found her number and all my stuff and I called it and I'm like, who's this? And, this is back in the time, before all this internet dating and all that kind of stuff, before most people had internet. You had to basically meet someone in person and lie to them face to face. It took a little bit more skill.
Yeah.
And so then, we start dating and I've got this huge hole in my leg and that got infected too. And I'm pouring peroxide and all kinds of stuff in it. And
damn,
she's helping me doctor that. And she got me walking again. She took me dancing and all that stuff and got back to work. And I still don't remember meeting her. I remember her as a child because, as luck would have it, we actually went to the same daycare and we went to the same school.
Oh,
but I don't remember meeting her as an adult. I remember her tattling on me when I think she was wanting to listen to like Duran Duran. And this is when everyone had, boom boxes and all that. And she had a big pink boom box.
Yeah, I remember those.
And this is like 1985, 86 or something. And we both are like, we're too old to be here kind of thing. But one of my friends had this tape from a new group that was out. And they were awesome. And they were called the Beastie Boys. And I kept, taking her tape out of the tape deck. And I kept putting Beastie Boys in there. And she tattled on me. I got in trouble with the teacher. And I remember that, but I don't remember meeting her as an adult. So I still don't. I went over the river through the woods. Grandma was pissed. And the last 2 trees that I hit, because I was snapping trees like toothpicks. And the last 2 were 2 big oak trees, and you're not going to snap them.
No.
Pine trees, you'll snap them. Small trees, you'll snap them. Big old oak tree, you're not going to snap that. And the bed hit one tree, spun me around, ejected me out the windshield. I still had my hard hat on, my coveralls and all that, because I was rocking track. And if it wouldn't have thrown me through the windshield, I would be dead, because it put the top of the cab in the floorboard, and this was on a not a 8000, it was a 9,000. Had a 13 speed in it, and I had my trailer dropped off at one track. Dug a hole underneath the railroad tracks, opened the bottom of a gravel car. You load it up. You got high rails on the truck, and go back in the corner of a farmer's field and hop on the track back there, put your high rails down, go down the track, dump your gravel, come back, grab another load. And I'd been up for too many days, and I hit a cow in a curve doing about 75, 80. And I think I'd slow down to that. I don't know. In more ways than one. I was fading in and out. And when I faded back in, there's this cow moseying across the road, like 2,000-pound cow. And it's just looking at me like, who the hell are you? And I rolled the truck when I dropped it off in the ditch because I had no steering. I was up on top of it spreading hamburger meat and dropped it off in the ditch. Took out a whole bunch of fence, like I said, over the river through the woods, and hit a tree. Well, hit many, many, many trees. And that's how I met my wife. So
the hell of a story.
Pretty much. She's a nurse. So of all people, she's like my sanity. She's the one telling me to stop, telling me to slow down, telling me not to do this, telling me not to do that. And I'm the one that's drunk, standing on top of the roof of the house with a pole saw cranked up, trimming limbs off the tree. So I am a redneck. So
I am too. My wife gets on me all the damn time for
Yeah.
doing stupid. She's like, "You're gonna kill yourself, bubble boy." She's always yelling at me about something I'm doing, and I'm like, "Well, it's got to
Right.
get done. I'm gonna do it any way I can." But Eduardo
Yeah.
Espinosa said this chat needs to be archived.
Probably. I had a friend recently tell me I should write a book. And I don't know, maybe title it The Names of the Guilty Have Been Changed, or Names Have Been Changed to Protect the Guilty. It's,
Yeah.
I know a lot of weird
Dustin.
people.
Dustin
Yeah.
said you got some mad skills because you pulled your wife while being life flighted.
Probably. I get in trouble a lot for that. Apparently, I'm a flirt or whatever. And I'm not particularly good looking or anything like that. But I'll tend to get phone numbers and stuff like that from waitresses, and some guy asked me to dance or something when we go out, or I think the last time we went to Chance's before it closed, and that's a lesbian bar. She got in a fight with some chick because I was kissing her in Houston.
Oh.
Down off like Westheimer, Montrose, in the neighborhood.
I wasn't
And,
sure if there's a bar local to me called Chances, so I don't know if it's part of the same chain.
I don't know. Is it a lesbian bar?
It's a bar.
Because this one definitely was. But anyways, I'm kissing her and all that. We're making out, and this chick comes up behind me, grabs my ass, licks my ear, and tells me I'm cute. And this hallway, it was kind of slanted a little bit, so I'm cracking up laughing because I'm watching my wife run down this hallway in platform heels and a mini skirt, trying to chase after this bitch to kick her ass. And I mean, that took some nerve. I'm making out with her. She comes up behind me and, grabs my ass, licks my ear, tells me I'm cute and all that. And my wife's chasing her down the hallway. And then I get in trouble because I'm laughing. But yeah, that causes problems. And apparently I talk to too many people and all that stuff. Because, I talk to the waitress. I make friends with people. I make friends with people at the gun store, and then they let me know when things are coming out and when they got deals coming up and what have you, and people at the auto parts store, and people at this business and that business, and I know who to go to get what I want, you know, and that ends up in a lot of cases helping me out. Like, I'm friends with, the same salesman that I've known for years that sells appliances, and, the dryer goes out and it's like, hey, I need a dryer. Hey, wait a minute. We got one in the back over here. Somebody hit, it's a scratch and dent. And you get like this $2,000 dryer for $600,
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of work those skills a little bit. It helps. So, but she basically tells me that I talk too much. And she's not wrong. It's weird because I can go for weeks at a time without talking to anyone. Just, I'm on the truck. And
I'm the same way.
But
Except I'm not on a truck or anything, but Dustin said that your story that you told about the bar, he said that's hot. And you might know this, but Ghost Shadow said that in Alaska, most trucks have a moose masher installed, reinforced forward frame, then lots of steel to keep the animals from getting through.
Oh yeah, the cattle trucks down here have something similar. And of course you got the spikes pointed down because what you're trying to do is keep it from coming up in your windshield, especially when you're dealing with elk and moose. And I had one of those on one of my trucks, and some of the DOT officers were giving a shit about them because they're like, well, that's a weapon. It's got spikes on it. No, there's a reason for those spikes. It's to keep the animal from coming. If you've ever seen a moose, and I used to run up to Canada, I used to go up to Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, went all kinds of places, and these are huge animals. You hit a moose in an 18-wheeler, you're in a 379 Pete or something, that thing is going through your windshield. That's why they have those big bumpers on there. They'll save your radiator and stuff like that if you hit a deer or something smaller, and you'll see like the little versions of it on a lot of trucks. It'll bust your fender, but it'll save your radiator and you can still drive your truck. But when you hit like one of those elk that come down out of Canada and they follow the river through Yellowstone down to Colorado, that thing's coming through your windshield. Yep. When you hit the next size up and you hit a moose that doesn't even give a damn that you're there, that's coming through your windshield too. Unless it's a pretty young one. I've had a moose lay its head across the hood of my truck before and look at me. And it had these eyes that just look like softballs. And I'm like, I'm not moving the truck. I'm not honking the horn. You can do whatever the hell you want. And when you move out of my way, I will kindly go on about my business.
Yeah, they are some big creatures.
Oh yeah. I've nearly hit a bear before. Bear look weird when they're running, especially when they're running across the freeway, because it's like they run somewhere between a dog and a monkey. And they're down on all fours, and it's kind of like this big dog running, and they're up on their paws, and they're hopping across the barricade like it's a big monkey or something. And it's just a sight to see,
Yeah. Ghost Shadow says the moose masher goes up to the top of the hood. Think of a giant brush guard designed to throw moose.
Oh yeah. It is. It's basically we didn't call it moose mashers. We had kind of a different version, but it's the same thing. It's this big, huge brush guard that attaches to your frame. You can't raise your hood without dropping it down. It's got big pins that you pull and you drop it down. And some of them have spikes, some of them don't. Have you seen the ones that they use in Australia where they've also got the things up there on the cab of the truck by the windshield and everything? I think those are more for like kangaroo and what have you that are hopping down the road. But I mean, it looks like Mad Max. It's awesome.
No, I haven't seen it.
That's
but that was the visualization that I got when you were describing it was Mad Max.
Yeah. It looks Mad Max, you know. Um, but yeah, the main thing the cops were getting on us for was because a lot of us we had the spikes on ours. But like I said, the purpose of those spikes, because it's probably going to push that thing back into your radiator if you hit a moose or something. There's a chance. Well, they started moving the radiators back further, and that helped save them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But odds are that thing is still going to come up through your windshield, you know.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully you can either knock it to one side or the other, but you definitely don't want it coming through your windshield. You know, and they might have had a little bit different version of it up in Alaska, what he's talking about. I think I know what he is talking about. But the one we had just looked like a big, huge brush guard on the front of the truck. And then you picture about, 6 or 8 spikes all kind of angled down, like to catch
Mhm.
an animal if you hit it. That's what we were running. And that's what DOT was getting mad at us about, saying that that is a weapon, you know.
Jesus.
At the same time, somebody was putting those spinning rims on their Volvo or what have you, and I'm like, this is a weapon. This is meant to keep an animal from coming through my windshield and taking my truck out. What's going to happen? This guy stops at a red light and somebody puts their foot in there to stop that thing from spinning. That's going to cut their foot off,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Ghost Shadow says the moose masher includes frame reinforced and power mechanism, as they are too heavy to move by hand. They don't bend when you hit a moose.
I think the one he's talking about kind of curls forward a little bit too at the same time. I mean, the ones we were using, it's like at the end of your frame at the front where your bumper hooks up to it, and then you got the big square things, you put your eye hooks and all that too. It will hook up there. And then you've got like pins on either side you've got to pull, and you lay this thing flat to open your hood, to check your oil, to do anything else that you need to do. And I think what he's talking about is like the next step up from that. Because what we were running, if you hit a moose, I think that would still take out your radiator. Deer, small elk, something like that, you were pretty good. A moose is a totally different story. A moose is like a big tank that just does not give a flying fuck about you. It's the top. A moose is in the top of the world in its world. It's the largest thing. And I think there's pictures of moose chasing polar bears. They do not care.
No, they don't.
And they are aggressive. They will hurt you.
Dustin says those land train trucks in Aussie land are awesome looking, and they do look Mad Max style. And then Eduardo Espinosa says, starting to sound like a transformer now. LOL. He kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's things you got to do for your job. There's stuff that I still do to this day. Like I've always got a sleeping blanket that goes well below zero in the truck with me. I always carry water. I always carry first aid supplies. I've always got spare food because I've been snowed into a rest area for a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's those little things.
Cook your food on your engine?
I used to do that when I did construction. I was actually talking to Angry about that a little bit the other day, and I may be doing something as far as my channel goes with cooking some more healthier food.
Yeah.
But what I would do, and I was also powerlifting and stuff at the time too. I've done a lot of things, and I would have like chicken and rice, and I'd have like cream of chicken or something poured on it, and I'd have it in like a metal bread pan and wrapped up in aluminum foil. And about an hour before lunch, I'm running a D6 or something like that. And I would hop out and I would put that on the exhaust manifold. I had a spot that I would put it and a little piece of baling wire where it wouldn't come off. And I would heat up my lunch on the exhaust manifold.
Yep, I've done that before on long hauls when I was working for my grandfather. So that's why I was asking, because I've done it before. I had to cook shit up under the while you're driving or warming
I
something
think,
up.
yeah, until these inverters and stuff got a whole lot better and people started putting microwaves in their truck and all that, which I need a microwave. I think everyone has tried that. I mean, they have cookie recipes, baking them with
Oh,
your
hell yeah.
windshield, you know, turning your car into an easy bake oven.
Yeah,
You know,
I've seen that too.
yeah, it's just one of those things. It's something that, you know, people are going to figure out. It's kind of like most civilizations have a form of boiled dumpling that's filled with something. Whether you're talking about the a wonton or whatever, you know, Chinese, Japanese, whatever food that is, or you're talking about pierogies, or you're talking about like empanadas, you know, you fry them up, what have you, that filled dumpling, half moon shape. That's just something that's easy. Okay, we can cut out a circle. That's pretty easy. We can fill it with something, fold it, we can fry it, we can boil it. That's something that every civilization is going to figure out some kind of food to make in that sort of shape, you know, and that sort of
Oh,
basic
I
thing.
love pierogies. Pierogies are so freaking good. I love throwing them in a like pan frying them with some onions and mushrooms and peppers. Oh,
Yeah, I'll have like potatoes and like some ricotta cheese and stuff in there, and
mhm.
or farmer's cheese if I can find it or I feel like making it. And there's all kinds of things. You can put cabbage in there. There's much respect for Polish grandmothers who make tons of those by hand and make them look a lot better than mine. You know, mine taste good. They don't look as good as theirs.
Right.
I'll get a few of them that
Dustin
look
asked,
that good, but most of them don't.
you might be able to answer this, but Dustin asked, do they, mooses, have really long legs because of swampland or deep snow, or is it because of something else? He was asking that to you and also Ghost Shadow.
Probably deep snow and bogs. Because if you get around like cranberry bogs and stuff like that, and moose also swim out in the ocean. They've been found miles out in the ocean. They're excellent swimmers.
Oh,
They
hell yeah,
cross
they are.
rivers, lakes, streams. They travel through deep snow. Deep snow's probably got a lot to do. Between deep snow and traveling through water and marsh, that's probably how they got their legs. But Ghost Shadow, yeah, Ghost Shadow saying the same thing. Snow and swamp. You know, people don't think
Yep.
of swamp up north. That they've never been to Maine or something where they've got cranberry bogs.
Yep.
But yeah, they've got swampland up north too. And you know, between the two of them, the long legs. Yeah, C says the same thing, and they're very good swimmers. Yeah, you can't
They look kind of weird
outrun
when they
or
swim,
outswim
though.
them. They look terrifying if you've ever
They,
seen them
they
dive
do.
underwater.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yeah, you see that thing coming under the water after you. You're running for it. That is terrifying. I was watching
Yeah.
a video showing one going in the water, going after something, and that's like just holy shit.
You almost want
Thank God they
wish
can't
you
climb.
could walk on water.
You might find a way to walk on water at that point.
Yeah.
Be running so fast. You know, thank God they can't climb a tree.
Yep.
That's the other thing, us as a species, we're not very fast, we're not very strong, we're intelligent, we're probably not the most intelligent in many ways. We happen to have opposable thumbs to go along with the intelligence. The only real thing that we have superior to most creatures is endurance, running, the ability to sweat and cool off.
Yep.
where initially we could run most creatures we could be in a pack, and where like a cheetah or a lion, there's no way in hell we're outrunning that. They're chasing and catching animals that can run 40 miles an hour. We can't do that. Well, we can take that same animal that can run 40 miles an hour and we can trail it and we can jog behind it for miles and miles until it starts having a heat stroke. And then we can kill it with a primitive bow and spear, and we've got food, you know?
Mhm.
So that's about the only thing we have superior over most animals. There's reasons that the octopus are highly intelligent animals. Dolphins, killer whales are highly intelligent. Whales have their own language. They don't have thumbs or technology, but how do we know that we're smarter than them? You know,
We
it
don't.
just, we have the ability for all this technology, to do something, with our hands to create it. And we're probably one of the most violent species, as aggressive and violent. Um, as far as animals go, there's some insects that could probably top us on that one. But think about most of the technology we have was designed to either kill something or to aid us in our ability to kill it. Our GPS on the phone, that was military, um, that's aiding in our ability to kill. Firearms, spears, knives. Um, the whole space race was the Cold War. It was some kind of aspect in war. Chariots, wheeled carts, just about everything we have. The internet was a military thing before it was a bank thing, before it became a public thing.
Yep.
And just about everything we have, there's some military, some hunting, some kind of, as far as not technologically, where it has something to do with killing something, killing or eating it, or both. you know. Um, yeah, I mean, even taming horses and stuff. That wasn't initially for farmland. That was initially for war, you know, and then eventually farm, you know. A lot of the animals we had for food that eventually became something for farming, beast of burden, that sort of thing. But it's weird looking about the history of that. What's even really weirder is you look at like that Otto, the Iceman, where he found in like the French Alps, like a glacier moved over the top of him. Like
Yep.
the oldest known murder victim, because come to find out, he was killed. He was basically like shot in the back with arrows, and he had higher status because he actually had like a bronze axe. Many people would have had bronze back then.
Hmm.
But,
You're breaking up real bad, Sarah.
His last name was some kind of brain, red deer, which is real common.
I don't know if you can hear me, Tara, but you're breaking up.
At a time when humans got all this physical activity, so he had a very active life, he had a very healthy diet, and he had arterial sclerosis, hardening of the arteries.
I think we lost her.
Diet, there's no preservatives, no chemicals in his food, no any of that, and he still had arterial sclerosis, which is what actually killed on one side of my family, my grandfather and all his brothers, who all had cancer and died of heart attacks from the arterial sclerosis before the cancer.
Damn. Dustin, to answer your question earlier, I don't know if you can hear me. I meant to answer it, but I forgot about it. But yeah, I'm all moved into my new house. Just got to unpack everything, man. Are you there, Tara? I think we've lost her. Yeah, she dropped out. Probably hitting a bad area again. Oh, there she is. She's back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Barely. She'll be back in a minute, folks. Technical difficulties. She's driving. Yeah, Ghost Shadow. She's using tin cannon string. I remember doing that as a kid. I think we've all done that once or twice growing up. Ugh. She's probably somewhere out in BFE.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, something with my phone ringing with the headset messed up my thing. But anyways, I don't know if y'all heard all that, but
Yeah, we didn't really hear anything. You were roboting and you faded out and dropped out a couple times.
okay, well, that auto guy, the ice guy, he had the most healthy diet you could have, no preservatives, no fillers, an active lifestyle, and he had arterial sclerosis. So it's like you
Damn.
can't win. Yeah. Yeah, someone was trying to call, so they called in, and then it messed up my thing. Too much
Oh, that's
technology.
cool. Yeah. Technology clashes.
Yeah, I think I am going to have to end the chat, though, at this point, because I need to do my paperwork, and I'm going to need my phone for that, and we're on the phone, and I need to get home before my
Oh,
wife
you're good.
kills.
I actually got to go too because I got to go to town and run a few errands real quick before my wife has to get up and go to work. So it was good chatting with you, Tara.
Hey, are you on my Discord?
No, but I'll look at it here in a minute and get on it.
All right, are you on
Is it in the description?
I don't know if it's in the description, and I don't know if I can post a link to it here. I could probably post a link in Matt's Discord if you're on there.
Yes, yeah. Go ahead and do that, and I'll hop in your Discord.
Okay, well, I can send you a private message, and I'll tell you what the family name is, and then you'll know my family.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
I'll guarantee you know a few of them.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
I like Ghost Shadow's comment about being on an electric fence. I got a cool story before I go. My stepfather, and this is over at my step-grandparents' house. All the guys had this spot they would go by the barn and they would take a piss. That's just the way it is. I mean, people in the city freak out that you're out in the country, guys take a piss everywhere. That's just what it is. And
yeah, we do that all the time.
Well, the electric fence was usually off. And my brother thought it would be funny to turn the electric fence on and not tell anyone. So my stepfather takes a piss. And long story short, you couldn't find any of us for about 3 or 4 days. We just stayed hidden. We stayed elsewhere. We were not coming around the house. We weren't going anywhere. So he thought that was a cool practical joke to pull, but I think that joke's been pulled on many people at many times because we used to do the deal where you'd hold the electric fence
I did
and
it
it
too.
wouldn't hurt you as bad, but you'd catch somebody walking by and you would shock them and it would shock them worse. Or you get a little chain going and it always shocked the person at the end of the chain worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, but awesome. This is the longest chat that I have ever done. It's 3 hours and 30 minutes. I would
Same here.
I would like to thank everyone who has joined and hopped in, whether you're still here or not. And if you're still here, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about so many different subjects. I mainly wanted to get on here to check out the headset to see if I can get things working because I have a plan for what I want to do with it between my computer and my phone at the house where I'm setting up 2 cameras. So I could have one at the stove and one on the counter. But thank y'all so much. I'm going to have to go. Special thanks to Corey for helping me out with the chat because that works way better. And a special thanks to DM Foss for the time that he was in here. And
That's my
y'all are
pleasure.
awesome. Cool. I'll get off of here and I'll post that link real quick and I'll do the stuff I got to do to get home. And I'm going to post that over in Matt's Discord.
Okay,
So,
sounds good. Yeah. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to push this little button that says end. So thank you so much.
Later, everybody.